Oh, right. Well, I don't want to be too terribly optimistic, but it does look like we are up and running. Erin, thank you for the resub. 11 months. It's crazy. It's hard to believe that you've been here that long. Yeah, I took it live and everything except for Twitch crashed, so I had to close it, and it's presently still giving me attitude. So we may have to stop one more time and then come back in. We'll see, but we're gonna give it a minute and see if everything is functioning properly, and if it is, then we'll go straight into story time. But hello and salutations, my friends. Bear, good to see you. Erin, hello. Teresa, hello. Milu, hello. Matty, hello. Good to see you all. 1 year, 6 days, and 7. Oh, that means if we'd have been able to be on last Tuesday, that would have been your 1 year anniversary of following us, Matty. Ashley, hello, love. Good to see you. Lou, hello from Scotland. Welcome in. Or hello to Scotland, I guess I should say. Destiny Love, hello, hello, good to see you. Welcome in. 58 months in a row. What a bleeding legend she is. Look at that. Oh, hang on a second. Hang on. I think I have a thing. Enjoy your wraiths wisps there. Let me repop Erin's as well, since she did it while that was not available. Tyson, hello, everyone. I'm finishing up at the shop and I'll be listening while I run a few errands on my way home. Be safe, brother. It's good to see you. Hang on. Here, let's do... Oh, never mind. That's for... Never mind. Never mind. I thought it was a different thing. Oh, but hello, everyone. Welcome in. It's good to see you all. Vas Hale from Detroit, Michigan. Welcome in, Robert. It's good to see you. Very glad that you could join us. Hello, everyone. Welcome in. I'm just checking to make sure that everything is stable and we should be all well and good. It's looking like everything's fine. Yeah, I heard, Erin, that's dreadful. $7,000 worth of damage because of a tow truck driver is absolutely dreadful. But welcome in, everyone. Come in from the cold. I know it's been about a week since the doors have been opened, but we're here now. And we're going to have story time. I don't even remember where we are, if I'm being honest. Oh, we are on the start of a new chapter, so that's good. We are... We are on chapter 9, and when we last left off, Arutha, Baru, rolled, and the two, Laurie and the two squires had just found a beast hound that's owner had been killed by trolls. We have been greatly enjoying the rainfall. It has been nuts out near where we are. We've had some stuff that is like the streets have been flooded pretty much everywhere, but very, very excited about it. Yeah, I mean, if especially if they're not willing to cop up to what was done, then most definitely, Aaron. Even better to see you, Castle. Oh, it's impossible, you beautiful bastard, you. Absolutely lovely to see you. We missed you guys too. It's been a ripe bit of bastardness. We're actually getting rain today every day for the next week. Yeah, we're safe. To be honest, the roads are like rivers, so it is definitely not safe to be out and about I actually went and got medicine because the lady and the boy were sick. Um, and it was the roads were just rivers last night. Frost, hello, my friend. Good to see you, brother. Welcome in. Yeah, luckily we live on a little bit of a high spot, so we don't often get. No, I'll be fine. I've been taking care of myself, so I should be just fine. I've been exercising, I've been eating plenty good, and I've been making sure that I take my own medicine, so I should be just fine. Yeah, I think it's different. Six. I think Everett might be on the cusp of the flu, and I think that the lady is just having some lady problems, and that is what is causing her to not feel well. To put it in the politest way possible. Stephen, hello. I just found out that my one of my college friends who was in the Marine Corps passed away on the first of this month, so I'm not doing well. I'm sorry to hear that. It is always was he someone who was in active duty, Stephen? We all remember the plague earlier this year. Yeah, I'm taking great care not to allow myself to get the plague again. Of course, I'll let the lady and the boy know you guys said so. We had the flu. It wasn't as bad as last year, but yeah, yeah. I've been making sure that I get sleep. I've been making sure that I'm eating and hydrating and all of the things. So I've the only thing that I have felt bad for over the last couple of weeks was I there's a couple of days where I was going to bed very late, like at 5 a.m. because I was finishing up work. He was active duty. I'll tell you what, Con. Why don't we sing a song for him on the break? It's always hard to lose a friend, but you have to remember that when you join the military, and it's not meant to make it better, but when you join the military, you are going into a service where you're putting your life on the line, and it is always sad when we lose a soldier, but they go into it knowing what they're in for, and it doesn't excuse it, it doesn't make it better, but know that he went doing what he wanted to do. He went his own way. And the best thing that you can do is carry his name, carry his soul, and carry an honor for him as your life goes on. You're now a bearer of his stories. Also, 1.5 chapters until I'm done with book one, and I'm feeling bad for my antagonist now too. that that'll happen. That'll happen, Matty. Sinomi, hello, hello. One of the regulars had a friend who's in the military, pass away in service. Kayla, hello, welcome in. Good to see you. It is always, and I want to be clear. I know I'm always very leveled when we talk about people passing away. I have seen much death in my life, and I've had a great number of loved ones pass away, and it never gets any easier. I'm not ever trying to tell you not to care that someone has passed, but there's a little that you can do on the back end of somebody passing away, except for honoring their life. I'm in the middle of setting up my new phone. We'll wait until you're done. Don't interrupt it. I'm gonna heat up my pot roast. That sounds delicious, Aaron. Send some my way. I actually just had tacos, so I'm actually quite full. But I do want to make sure that I note that when I say that the best thing that you can do for someone who has passed is honor them. It's not to dismiss that somebody has passed. It's just that you can feel your sadness however you're going to feel it. But the constructive thing you can do is honor and remember the people who've passed. That's really the best thing that you can do for loved ones. Excellent, Colin. Excellent. That's really the best you can do. Robert, you said, forgive me for asking, but since most times you're on, I'm usually at work during the graveyard shift. Is this story time or a question and answer feed? Sorry if I'm a bit off on what this is. That's all right, Robert. So, generally, Tuesdays and Thursdays are story time. I always take a little bit of time to answer questions because we have a lot of questions that come in through comments and messages from patrons of the tavern that I don't always get to. So the story time is a time when you guys can come in and ask me questions. There will be story time. We're reading Darkness at Sethanon tonight, but we take breaks and we converse. So it's a little bit of both. Sundays, I have a full hour that is just set aside for questions, where you guys can ask me questions. We call it waffles, waffling. Oh, Bethany, thank you so much. Enjoy your wisps meringues there. I did make Irish stew 2 Saturdays ago and I loved it. Spectacular. I'm glad that you enjoy it. I had Thanksgiving burritos, did you? Waffle time, yeah, all the wonderful waffles. So yes, throughout all of the story times, you guys can post questions and I will stop and answer them. Generally, we try to read for about 15 to 20 minutes at a time. And then we'll talk about the story or we'll talk about stories in general. It is a very relaxed sort of format. Think of it like I'm behind the bar, you come in to get a drink, and I'm telling a story, but we're also having a conversation. Did my anti-goblin spray work? Hopefully so. Hopefully so, Matty. It looks like everything is stable, so I think that we're good to start. I'm going to run ads for you guys on Twitch so you get your hour without them. And then we'll get into story time, I think. Gunnar, hello, my friend. Welcome in. And Robert, thank you for the question. I appreciate it. And welcome. I hope that you'll enjoy story time. And if you do, I hope that you'll come back and join us again. This is the time when you can interact with the most avid story seekers of the tavern. Jordan, hello. Good to be back. Hello, tavern family. Good to see you. Good to see you. How's Kevin doing? You guys still, I would assume you're not still sequestered in a cabin somewhere. I assume one of you went home. We're having mashed potatoes. Mashed potatoes are delicious. I don't mean to be a stereotype, but I love me some mash. I love potatoes in almost any form. Again, not mean to be a stereotype. We found kittens today in the ceiling of our work. Well, that's a hell of a thing. That's a hell of a thing. All the chit chat included with the stories. Absolutely, that's the format. Thank you for loving me. Thank you for being there, and thank you for what are you, Aaron? What are you doing? I was trying to reply to Sir Cherry Matter, but Twitch wouldn't keep his comment attached. It'll do that sometimes. Castle, did I tell you what I helped my neighbor kid be for Halloween? You did not. And I've been, because of all of the chaos around the guild shutting down and all of that, I've been so disconnected from the guild while the lady and I are transferring everything out that I've honestly, I've sinfully been disconnected from the guild for the last few weeks. So I apologize for that. He looks very Irish, super white, dark hair, blue eyes kind of thing. And he wanted to be a potato. I'd love a kitten. I have 2 in the house right now. I do not recommend. I appreciate you checking in. Love means the world. Yeah, Sonomi, it's good to see you. I'm glad that you made it in. It was amazing. It sounds very funny. It sounds very funny. Have you ever tried diced potatoes cooked in teriyaki sauce? No, but I have tried. So Japanese and Korean restaurants will do like these twirled potatoes that have like cinnamon and cardamom on them. So it's like a deep fried potato stick, and they do like cinnamon and cardamom, and then they'll like you dip it in soy sauce. That's pretty good. I don't mind that. In that case, Castle, when you get a chance, I sent you a DM in the guild. I will. I appreciate you letting me know. Yeah, because we're transferring everything over. I've been trying not to post too much in either place, so that people aren't getting bombarded until we're all 100% all over onto the Discord. I'm trying to keep my interactions to a minimum so people don't miss things. So there'll be an uptick in guild activity once we're completely transferred to the new guild. But for right now, I'm trying not to do too much because I don't want anybody to miss anything. So the only thing that's being right now put in both places is uh, the the story times. When the story times go up, they go on both places. I guess you did. I don't have a notification here for it. You must have did it just before Streamlabs crashed on me, Matty. Because I don't even have a notification for it. I don't think. I don't see one, anyways. All the potato talk makes me want to eat another baked potato. uh, let the cat's distribution system begin, right? Pass the cranberry sauce. I love cranberry sauce. Okay, let's get. I'm sorry, I'm waffling. It's been a whole week since you guys have gotten story time. If you're over on Twitch, you're gonna get ads here for a second. They're gonna last. It's gonna last for probably about 3 minutes, and then after the 3 minutes, we'll start story time. Yeah, Robert, I'll grab the link. I'll post it for everybody here, just in case anybody wants to join the Discord guild. This is where all of our announcements and things go out first. If you're interested in the Tavern Tales writing quest, which is where people are writing stories that will be published in a Tavern Tales book, that it'll be published by the tavern. If you're interested in that, that's the best place to do it. Okay. Drop that down. Bring this back up. All right. Richard, hello, my friend. Good to see you. I'm gonna post them tomorrow, Frost. I didn't post them yesterday because we were still having technical difficulties. So I'm gonna post them tomorrow. I should have said that somewhere. If I didn't, I apologize. It'll be in the guild. It'll be in the guild. It'll be posted. Yeah, it'll be in the guild and in the Discord, both places, in Guilded and on Discord. I have to lurk while I take chip out. See you in a bit. See you in a bit, Milo. Be safe while you're walking. I don't know if that link actually worked. So here, let me just post it by itself so that it's not attached to, because I there's not a space there. So. Okay, ads on Twitch. There we go. At least they should be running. There we go. All right. Sorry to be late. Came in during an ad too. That's all right, Molly. So I will address you when the ad is out. Pot roast gravy is very good, Erin. The Pet Smart by my place does free adoption 2 days a year. The lady is she's always on these adoption sites looking for bleeding heart creatures to adopt. We don't have the space for it anymore in the tavern, but I had this conversation. My message wasn't anything serious, just me complaining that there still isn't a date for the Demon Slayer Infinity Castle coming. Is there not? That's wild. Sadly, we have a lot of places that you only give out barn cats. See, one of the interesting things about, I was talking to somebody the other day about cats, and I brought up that cats are responsible for the extinction of like 1.5 billion species or something like that. And they didn't believe me. They were like, that can't be true. But domesticated cats are responsible for the extinction of somewhere in the upwards of over a billion different species of like birds and rodents and reptiles and things like that. So it's you have to be very, very careful. Nope, only that it will come in 2026 at the earliest. That's a wild timeline. That's a wild timeline. I'm sorry, and Molly, I'm sorry you got caught in the ad. I waited a little bit before so everybody could get in before I popped them. And we're gonna start story time here as soon as they're done. But they're already done for you, so it's odd. Excellent, Robert. I'll go in there after story time is done, and I'll approve it for you. And thank you for your interest. I appreciate that. I hope you'll enjoy. There's a lot of stuff that goes on in the tavern, so I'm sure you'll enjoy yourself. Actually, here I still have it up. I'll approve you right now. Are you abandoned raid? Is that you, Robert? I had a cat that was quite the huntress as a teenager. My aunt has two gigantic Norwegian forest cats that are just absolutely massive. Yeah, watch out for the grumpy dragon and Harold. That was I didn't know that the lady was gonna do that, and when I saw that they were in there, I was like, oh great, the goblins get to plague me in Discord too now. Just what I always wanted. Yeah, and they're giant. Like my aunt's cats are the size of like actual dogs. Like they're like medium sized dogs is how big they are. One of her bigger cat, and this is my cousin Lauren, not my aunt Lauren. Her her bigger cat is almost the size of my dog. Going through withdrawals. Well, I'm not going to say that I approve of these things. Robert, what was your name on Discord, my friend? My mom has a 3-year-old Maine Coon, almost 30 pounds. Yeah, my aunt's bigger cat is like a 50-pound cat. It's massive. Your cat is weighing at 23 pounds. Milo is getting massive. Like he's turning into a unit. Like he's so big now, and he's not even a year old. He's huge cat. No, I know, I know what you meant, Bethany. That's what I was gonna say. I don't condone it, but you can always go to the pirate bay, sail the high seas, and then make sure that you get it legitimately when the time comes. One of my indoor cats. One of the indoor cats is mine. All the dogs and others are my in-laws. And he's the perfect weight for his size, according to the vets. 23 pounds is a big cat. Like, obviously, my aunt's cat is huge. Wonderful. Father, it goes back over 100 generations. And he does have evidence of that. He has evidence that our family has been keeping these traditions for a very long time. Wasn't always directly in Ireland, but he traces our family all the way back to the legendary Malaysians. So how much of that is true is up to people to interpret, but our storytelling tradition, according to my grandfather, and I believe him, goes back over 100 generations. Abandoned raid. Alright, gotcha. You are in, my friend. And if we had anybody else who applied who is currently in the live, please let me know and I'll let you know. Hang on a second. I'm gonna go grab Milo so you guys can see him because he's an absolute unit now. He's massive. He's probably sleeping like he's not supposed to be. Oh, look at how big he is. Look at how big he is. He's not done growing either. He's got another 18 months. It's 12 to 18 months to grow. Look at how big he is. I prefer not to pirate because video quality is often not great. I understand that. I'm just saying if you really need to get you really need to get your fixing. Yeah, look at how huge he is. He's massive. Look at the size of these paws. Hey, you're working. Calm down. He's such a big guy now. He's a huge, absolutely. He's as long as my torso. He is a Bengal. He's a purebred Bengal. Where are you going? You were just sleeping 2 minutes ago, sir. Calm down. Relax. Did you know that cats have 32 muscles in each ear to help them ignore you? I did not know that, Herring, but it makes perfect sense. It's what they're best at. Okay, all right. I'll take you back to mom. Stop it. He's gonna be half as tall as Cody easily, easily half as tall. My stream vid to chat is still out of whack. Is it? Okay, I'm gonna go take him back to mom because he's like, I want to lie down. Long cat is long. Yeah, he's a handsome boy and he is massive. He is huge. And long-haired Maine Coon. I was 8 months old and was over 2 foot long, including his tail. Yeah, they're big cats. Big cats. At the rate that he's growing, he'll probably be half as tall as Coda is, and he'll probably weigh about 20 to 30 pounds. He's gonna be a big cat. Just come here, Coda. Come say hello. Kitty cat said hello. You need to say hello too. Come on. There he is. Look at him. Big old handsome dog. Oh, you look like a ghost on TikTok. Will you stop getting in my face, please? Between Coda, Boo, and Milo, there's about 2.5 brain cells, and they're all fighting for fourth place. All right, get out of here. Go be not near me somewhere, please. Yeah, you stink. Go away. Thank you. Appreciate it. Ugh. Polar Bear walks into a bar and says, I'll have a gin and tonic. Barman says, why the big paws? Polar Bear looks down and says, don't know, I was born with them, I guess. At this point, I'm going to be disappointed if you don't like the movie Castle. I'll get over it, of course, but still. I like most of what has come out of Demon Slayer. I think I've said this before. I don't particularly care for the protagonist. I don't like. He's not a particularly motivating protagonist, but I like the world and I like the storytelling of Demon Hunter. So I'm sure that I'll like it. And it's gotten rave reviews. The Warhound indeed, and with the lady and I just watched the Overlord movie the other night, and it was very good. We liked that one a lot. It was crazy. It was extreme. If you're faint of heart, don't watch it. But Warhorse, he's big, he's almost big enough that he could be a warhorse for the lady. That's all right, Ashley. That's all right. Don't worry about it. Okay, I think we're ready to start, friends. Let's go ahead and get into story time. For those of you who have never been before, the way that it works is I will read for about 15-20 minutes with my head down, and I will probably not see most of what you say. You can feel free to repeat any comments or questions that you have if I do not see them. Obviously, if I'm not looking at the screen, don't bother spamming it because I'm not going to see it. But if I am looking and we're in the active conversation, feel free to post a question if I miss it. I have 5 chats up right now, and it's very easy for me to miss something. So if I don't see a question, and I won't just ignore you. If you ask something stupid, I'm not going to just ignore you. I will address it. So some people say, well, I felt like I was annoying you, and that's why I didn't want to repeat myself. If you were annoying me, I would tell you were annoying me, and I'd tell you to stop. So don't worry about it. Yeah, and if you're on Twitch, you can use the highlight feature, which uses channel points, and that makes it a little bit easier for me to see because they'll pop up for me twice in 2 different feeds. So, thank you, Frost. I appreciate you. He's your warhorse because you're 4'11". Look, I'm 4'3". Thank you very much. Canonically speaking, I'm 4'3". But I also weigh 300 pounds, so he can't. I'm wider than I am tall, so he can't bear me on his back. Don't mind me, I'm just putting up the anti-Zeus sparkly balls. Yeah, well, pick a shanty and we'll do it on the break for your mate, Con. You can let one of the barkeeps know and they'll make sure I remember. I said 4'1". I'm 4'3" though. I'm a really wide dwarf, exactly. I'm like Sheriff Shrift. I didn't know you were 300 pounds. Yes, I'm actually over 300 pounds. I weigh 315 right now. I prefer the term Gimli-esque. When people refer to my height, Gimli-esque is how I prefer to be, or Durin-like. You shrink as you get older, though, but I'm not that much older. You've only known me for a year, Aaron. If I'm shrinking 2 inches a year, I'm going to disappear in the next 7 years. I'm going to just completely disappear. Demon Slayer, Demon Hunter. Yeah, Demon Slayer. Yes. But you have a great beard, so it evens it out. Yeah, thank you, Robert. I appreciate you for that. I know a couple of Sail North songs, Matty, but you can recommend new ones. Yes, and Destiny and Ashley can also answer questions if anybody has them. If there is a sword or a symbol next to somebody's name, they're a barkeep and they'll be able to answer your questions while my head is down. The Demon Slayers movie. I'm going to say this once before I start. K-pop Demon Hunter is well worth your time. Yeah. Broderish. we came from beneath the lonely mountains, is how I like to put it. Santiana is the song I chose. All right, sounds good. That'll be the one then. All right, friends, let us begin. We are on chapter 9 of A Darkness at Sethanon. Captives. Now, when we last left off, as I said, our heroes, Baru, Arutha, Road, and Laurie, as well as the 2 squires, Locklear and Jimmy, had come upon a very large dog who was fighting some trolls. Hang on a second. I just realized that the music wasn't playing for anybody. Oh, you know what? That might be my fault. Hang on. No, not my fault. What? What's going on? Can you guys hear the music at all? Can anybody hear the music? Is a better question. Huh. Okay. What is the issue then? There we go. Now it's coming through. I guess because everything got bumbled, none of it is hooked up. Yep, no, it's not. All right. Well, I guess I should have noticed that earlier, but I did not notice that earlier, so I apologize. Not that most of you never even hear the music, so I suppose it's not a huge deal, but you all should be able to hear it now. Let's see. I should be able to turn it down for everyone. Ducking auto cucumber. Okay. Oh, did we bumble? Richard, did you like today's story time? You got quieter than normal. Oh, well, that's interesting. I'm dreaming of a white Christmas. Can we all hear me? All right, we should stop. There's too early for that. Rick, hello, or Rich, I guess. Hello, hello. Good to see you, my friend. Just like the ones I used to know. Stop. Don't worry, don't worry. I'm not gonna put Christmas shanties on you guys for a while yet. Just checking to make sure everybody can hear me still. Not a lot happened in the last chapter, if we're being totally honest. They fought some Black Slayers, and the more interesting thing is what I just said happened. We will be. They found the hunting dog. Michael, hello, my friend. Good to see you. A white Christmas would be scary here. Well, especially during when Christmas happens for you, Bear. A white Christmas in summertime would be terrifying. All right, friends, let's begin. Chapter 9 of A Darkness at Sethanon. Captives. The wind howled. The riders pulled cloaks tightly about themselves. They had been following the beast hound for more than a week. 2 days after finding the dog, they had passed over the crest of the great northern mountains. Now they moved along a narrow trail just below the high ridge running towards the northeast. The dog had come to accept Baru as his master, for he obeyed every command the Hadati gave, while he ignored any spoken by the others. Baru called the dog Blutark, which he said meant, in the old Hadati tongue, an old friend rediscovered or come back from a long journey. Arutha hoped it was a favorable omen and that those who had bred the dog would feel similarly towards Arutha's company. How's the music, everybody? I bet it's more interesting than the compliance training I'm doing at the same time. It very well could be. Good here? Okay. If the music is too loud, everybody just let me know. You too until the Christmas singing? Well, I apologize for absolutely nothing. As long as it does not swell. Well, I have a filter on it, so it shouldn't get too loud. Hopefully. We'll see. We'll see what happens. It's too early for Christmas music. But in a week, I'm gonna go. The whole of Storytime is gonna be just me singing Christmas music. I'm gonna be singing Christmas shanties. I'm gonna be singing carols and psalms and all of the things. The music is very low. It's very, very hard to hear. I will wait until November 30th. But that is the absolute latest I am willing to wait. No, don't worry. No Mariah Carey. We keep her locked in a cave in the back. She is the dark thing that has been bound. I guess that's acceptable. We keep her locked away with all of the other old gods. She's bound in ice and chains. 12 days, 5 hours, 24 minutes PST. Esther, hello. You literally got here at the start of Storytime. Nothing happened. Well, that's not really possible, Matty, because Michael Bublé has sung every Christmas song ever now. Mariah Carey is an eldritch horror, that's fine. Can we put her back in the ice this year? That's the plan. It's after Thanksgiving, don't remember the other name right now. No, I said she's like an old god. She's unkillable and we can't get rid of her, but can we put her back in the ice early this year? If we can, we'll all get together and see if we can will her back beneath the ice. I'll tolerate anything at this point. I'm just glad to have my tavern back. I'm glad too, and it looks like everything is functioning properly. So fingers crossed for that. Fingers crossed for that. Michael's the Grinch. Hey, but the Grinch is an important part of Christmas, in my opinion. Do you know Father Christmas? He comes into the tavern every now and again. He's also not a fan of Mariah Carey. He tried dropping a reindeer on her house, but it was he got the house wrong. Aaron's like, no, Christmas starts in January. We'll do some, yes, of course, Robert. Well, I have some more. And I do a silly version of all I want for Christmas is you. That is all Krampus wants for Christmas is you. We've got some fun Christmas songs that we do. More like Krampus. Krampus was Santa Claus's assistant though. Krampus just he came and got the naughty children. Justin Bieber's Christmas album. All right, I'm gonna get back to reading. We are Grinch fans. I love the Grinch, especially the Jim Carrey film, the Jim Carrey Grinch, and the Jim Carrey Christmas Carol, and the Muppets Christmas Carol are favorites. I think we should do watch parties on all three of those in the guild for Christmas. And we should do Nightmare Before Christmas too. Ooh, how about this? How about this? At the end of the month, we'll do Nightmare Before Christmas because starting Christmas early is Destiny, and several others. Nightmare Before Christmas is Christmas starting too soon. So far, so good, Esther. Hopefully, things will stay well, but we'll see. Every good sign has about that is the way of the universe, of course. Well, you are being the most vocal uh, about your displeasure at early Christmas. Except for wait, who else was displeased? I think Rich was displeased about the early Christmas, and then someone else was as well. Who else was it? No, I guess it was just you and Rich. I'll try and find Aussie Jingle Bells for you, Castle. Absolutely. James and the Giant Peach is terrifying, but James and the Giant Peach is also one of the best animated movies ever made. Like you will be hard pressed to find a better animated movie, especially from that era, than James and the Giant Peach. It simply cannot happen. All right. I need to get back to reading. Twice the dog had proven useful, signaling dangers along the trail. He could smell what even Baru and Martin's hunter's eyes missed. Both times they had surprised goblins camped along the trail. It was clear that Murbandamus controlled this route to the Northlands. Both encounters had taken place at junctions with trails clearly heading downward. The trail had run southeasterly through the Inclendale, then turned east, hugging the north side of the mountain ridges. In the distance, they could see the vast reaches of the Northlands, and they wondered. To most men of the kingdom, the Northlands was a convenient label for that unknown place on the other side of the mountains, the nature of which could only be speculated upon. But now they could see the Northlands below them, and the reality of the place dwarfed any speculation, for it was an immense reality. To the northwest was a vast plain stretched away into the distant mist, the Thunder Hell. Few men of the kingdom had ever trod upon this grassy domain, and then only with the consent of the nomads who called the Thunder Hell home. At the eastern edge of the Thunder Hell, a range of hills rose, and beyond were the lands never seen by men of the kingdom. Each turn in the road, each jog in the trail, and a new vista opened before them. That the dog refused to descend caused them some concern, for Martin avowed that they would have more cover in the hills, below than upon this trail. Weaving along the north ridges of the mountains, they only now and then descended below the timberline. Upon 3 occasions they had noticed indications that this trail was not entirely natural, as if someone had once long ago undertaken to connect sections of it. For the first time, Rold remarked, "The hunter wandered quite a distance from home. That's for certain." They were easily 100 miles to the east of where they had found the body. Baru said, "Yes, and that's strange. A thing that is, for the beach hunters recovered the defense of an area. Perhaps he's been pursued for some time by those trolls." But he knew, as did the others, that such a pursuit would be a matter of miles, not tens of miles. No, there was another reason that Hunter had been so far from his home. To pass the time, Ruther, Martin, and the boys had undertaken learning Baru's Hadati dialect, against the day of meeting Bulwark's owner's kin. Laurie and Rold spoke fluent Yabonese, and a smattering of the Hadati patois already. So it came quickly to them. Jimmy had the most difficulty, but he was able to make simple sentences. Then, Bluetalk came bounding back down the trail, his stubby tail wagging furiously. In atypical behavior, he barked loudly and spun in place, and Baru said, "It's strange." The dog normally went on point when sensing danger, until he was attacked or ordered back by Baru. Baru and Martin rode past the others, and the Hadati ordering the dog forward. Blutarch dashed ahead, around a bend between the high walls of stone, as the trail cut downward again. They rounded the turn and pulled up, for in the clearing, Blutarch faced another beast hound. The two dogs sniffed each other and wagged tails. But behind the second dog stood a man in black leather armor, an odd iron mask over his face. He sighted at them down a Bessie Mauler. Mounted upon a single long wooden pole, he spoke, the words made unintelligible by the blowing wind. Baru raised his hands and shouted something, most of the words lost upon the others, but his friendly intentions clear. Suddenly, from above, nets descended, ensnaring all 7 riders. A dozen brown, leather-clad soldiers leapt down upon them, and quickly wrestled Arutha's party from their mounts. In short order, all 7 were trussed up like game birds. The man in black armor broke down his pole, folding it, and slung it with a crossbow across his back. He approached and gave his own dog and Blutarch both friendly pats. The sound of horses, accompanied by other detachments of men in brown, this time riders. One of the men in brown spoke to them in a heavily accented king's tongue. He said, "You will come with us. Do not speak aloud, or we'll gag you. Do not try to escape, or we will kill you." Baru nodded curtly to his companions, but Rold began to say something. Instantly, Hans jammed a gag into his mouth and tied a cloth over his face, silencing him. Arutha looked about, but only nodded to the others. The captives were roughly placed, back in their saddles, their 2 feet tied to their stirrups, and without further words, the riders turned back down the trail, leading Arutha and the others along. Joker, hello, my friend. Good to see you. Welcome in. Right, I haven't missed anything. Early Christmas, stores were selling Christmas stuff across the aisle from the Halloween. It's fast. It's fast. How quickly they start selling stuff. Santana, my friend, hello. It's going well. I hope you're all right. It's good to see you. Well, some of my children, if Christmas starts too soon. Oh, not much, Joker. We're just in the midst of story time. Gonna do some songs later. Fernando! Hello, my friend. Good to see you. Welcome in. Just so you guys are aware, I don't know if I've mentioned this. If you're coming in through the Facebook portal or the YouTube portal, if you respond to someone else, like if you reply to a comment, I don't see those. Those do not show up for me in the feed of what I can see. So just so you guys are aware. So if you guys are having a conversation and I seem lost, that's why. You're free to have those conversations, and please do, but just know that I can't see them. For a day and a night they rode. Short halts were ordered to rest the horses. While the horses were being tended, Arutha and his companions would have their bindings loosened to lessen the cramping. So they were all experiencing. After a few hours after they had set out, Rold's gag was removed, much to his relief. But it was clear their captors wouldn't permit them to speak. After dawn, they could see they had negotiated nearly half the distance between the trail along the crest of the mountains and the foothills below. They passed a small herd of cattle and 3 watchful and armed herdsmen who waved and approached a walled community. The outer wall was sturdy, heavy logs lashed together and sealed with dried mud. The horsemen were forced to make a circular approach by deep trenches about the walls, coming up the hill on a switchback trail. On both sides of the trail, the trenches revealed fire-hardened wooden spikes, ready to impale any horseman who faltered. Rode looked about and whispered, It must have some charming neighbors." One of the guards immediately rode in next to him, the gag ready, but the leader waved him back as they approached the gate. The gate swung open and they discovered a second wall behind the first. There was no barbican, but the entire area between the walls was effectively a killing ground. As they passed through the second gate, Arutha admired the simple craftsmanship. A modern army could take this village quickly, but it would cost lives. Bandits and goblins would be repulsed easily. Inside the walls, Arutha observed his surroundings. It was a village of no more than a dozen huts, all of the wattle and daub construction. In the compound, children played, but with serious eyes. They wore gambeson armor, or in cases of a few of the older children, leather. All carried daggers. Even the old men were armed, and one hobbled past using a spear instead of a walking staff. The leader of the company said, "Now you must speak, for the rules of the trail do not apply here." He continued to speak the king's tongue. His men cut the straps binding the captives' feet to the stirrups and helped them dismount. He then mentioned to them to enter a hut. Inside, Arutha and the others faced the commander of the patrol. Blutarch, who had continued to run at Baru's side, lay at the Hadati's feet, his large tongue lolling out as he panted. "A dog is a rare breed, of particular importance to our people," said the commander of the patrol. How do you come to have him?" Hang on a second. TikTok's trying to boot us off. Arutha nodded to Baru. "We found his master, killed by trolls," said the Hadati. "We killed the trolls and the dog chose to come with us." The man considered. "Had you harmed his master, that dog would have killed you or died in the attempt. So I must believe you. But that breed is trained to obey only a few. How do you command?" The hillman spoke a word, and the dog sat up, ears perked. He spoke another, and the dog lay down at rest. "My village had dogs of a similar breed, though not so large as this." Oh, that was the wrong person. That was supposed to be Baru. The commander's eyes narrowed. "Who are you?" "I'm Baru, Cold Serpent Slayer, of Ordwinson's family, of the Iron Hill clan. I am Hadati." He spoke in the Hadati patois as he loosened his long bedroll and removed his tartan and sword. The commander nodded. He answered in a language similar enough to Baru's that the others could understand. The difference between the two languages seemed mainly to be pronunciation and otherwise trivial. "It has been many years since one of our Hadati kin has come over the mountains, Baru Serpent Slayer. Nearly a generation. This explains much, but men of the kingdom usually come here to cause mischief. And of late, we've had more than our share of such men. I think you, other than renegades, but this is a matter of protector's wisdom." He rose. "We shall rest for tonight, and then tomorrow I shall depart. Food will be brought. There is a bucket for night soil in the corner. Do not leave this hut. Should you attempt, you'll be bound, and should you resist, killed." As they reached the door, Arutha asked, "Where are you taking us?" The man looked back. "Armangard." At first light they rode out, heading downward out of the highlands into the heavy forest. Blutark loping along easily beside Baru's horse. Their captors again instructed them not to speak, but their weapons had been returned. To Arutha it seemed their captors assumed they would act as comrades on the road should trouble start. As the only likely encounters would be with Mermandavus' servants, Arutha thought it a safe assumption. It was clear the forest had been logged in places, and the path seemed one used regularly. Coming out of a stand of woods, they passed a meadow where a small herd of cattle grazed, with 3 men standing watch. One was the beast hunter who'd left the village the night before. The others were herdsmen, but each was armed with a spear, sword, and shield. Twice more that day they passed herds, one of cattle, one of sheep. They were tended by warriors, several of whom were women. They came down at sundown to another village and were given a place to stay, again with the instructions not to leave the building. The morning of the next day, the 4th of their captivity, they entered a shallow canyon, following a river out of the mountains. They paralleled its course until past noon, then came to a long rise. The road circled around a large hill rather than follow the river, which cut its way through the rock, so their view of all below them was blocked for nearly an hour. When they cleared the hill, Arutha and his friends all exchanged glances in silent wonder. The leader of the party, who they had learned was called Dwayne, turned and said, "Armangard." The city could not be seen in detail, but what could be seen was staggering. The outer walls were a full 50 or 60 feet high. Partisans atop the wall were placed every 50 feet or so, allowing overlapping fields of fire for archers placed in them. As they closed upon the wall, more details emerged. The barbican was immense, fully 100 feet across. The gates seemed more like movable sections of wall than gates. The river they had followed out of the mountains became a moat that flowed along the wall, not giving more than a foot of ground between its bank and the base of the wall. As they approached the city, the gates opened with surprising swiftness given their ponderous appearance, and a company of riders appeared from within. They rode at a good pace towards Arutha's escorts. As the 2 companies passed, the riders of each raised right hands in salute. Arutha saw they were attired in identical fashion. Men and women both wear leather coifs over their heads. Their armor was leather or chain, with no plate in view. Each wore a sword and carried a shield, and spears and bows appeared in equal proportion. There were no tabards or devices upon the shields. Soon they were past, and Arutha's attention returned to the city. They were crossing a bridge which appeared to be permanent over the moat. As they entered the city gate, Arutha caught a glimpse of a banner flying from the outer corner of the barbican. He could discern only its colors, gold and black, not its markings. But something about the banner caused him to feel an instant disquiet. Then the outer gates were closed. They seemed to swing shut of their own accord. Oh boy. So just so that we're all aware, I'm gonna spoil something. The reason why Arutha is disquieted, gold and black are the colors of his cousin, Guy Dubastira, who wants Arutha dead and who tried to usurp the entire kingdom. So there's that. Very, very, very good fun. Where were we? Then the outer gates were closing. They seemed to swing shut of their own accord, and Martin said, "There must be some sort of mechanism that moves them from within the walls." Ruther only watched silently. "You could have a full 150 horsemen sally forth without opening the inner gate," said Martin, as he regarded the size of the killing ground in the Barbican. Ruther nodded. It was the largest he had ever seen. The walls seemed an impossible 30 feet thick. Then the inner gate swung open, and they entered Amengar. The city was separated from the walls by a bailey 100 yards wide. Then began a tightly packed array of buildings, shot through with narrow streets. There was nothing like a broad boulevards of Krondor inside, and no signs upon any building betraying its purpose. They followed their escort and noticed that few people loitered about the doorways. If there were businesses here, they were not apparent to Ruther's companions. Everywhere they looked, the people walked in armor and wore weapons. Only once did they see an exception to the armor, a woman obviously in the late stages of pregnancy, yet her belt sash held a dagger. Even children who looked above the age of 7 or 8 were under arms. The street twisted and turned, intercepting others at random intervals. "This city seems without plan," said Locklear. "Good night, Richard. Thank you for joining us, my friend. It's so good to have you. I hope that you have a wonderful rest of your night, my friend, and that you rest well and rise tomorrow ready to conquer the day." Bethany, you said, "So since the last thing I distinctly remember is Pug and Thomas arriving at the underground place, what were Ruth and company doing when they got captured? And why were Pug and Thomas going underground again?" Pug and Thomas went underground. They went to the Kingdom of the Dead to try and find Macros the Black's soul. That's why they went to the Kingdom of the Dead. Ruth and company are heading north to try and more or less sneak into Momondamus's army and try to assassinate him. And they were headed that way, running away from some Black Slayers, when they found the Beast Hound that led them to the Hadati tribe, which is where they are now. Papa Bear Jakey, thank you for the heart me, the rose of the friendship necklace, the gold boxing gloves, and the perfume. I now smell delicious. Thank you kindly, my friend. Tips to the Tavern Keeper, always appreciated. I'm glad you're enjoying yourself. Thank you kindly, my friend. And to everyone else who's tipped the Tavern Keeper tonight, thank you kindly. Deeply appreciated. Never required. You're always welcome to come and listen for free. But I am a greedy bastard, so I'll never turn down a tip. I'm 100% finishing chapter 35 off stream. The chapter is fun to write. Sometimes you have to do those things on your own, so there's still surprise, Matty. Alright. Aruthan shook his head no. It is a city with great plan, a clear purpose. Straight streets, befitting merchants, are easy to build, if the terrain is flat or easily worked. You see twisting streets only where it is too difficult to cut straight ones, such as in Rillanon, which is situated upon rocky hills, or near the palace in Krondor. This city is built upon a plateau, which means these meandering streets are intentional. Martin, what do you think? I think that should the walls be breached, you could place an ambush every 50 feet from here to the other end of the city. He pointed upward. Notice every building is of equal height. A warrant the roofs are flat and accessible from within. A perfect place for archers. Look at the lower floor. Jimmy and Locklear looked and saw that what the Duke of Crawley meant. Each building had only a single door on the ground floor. Heavy wood with iron bands, and there were no windows. This is a city designed. Oh, this is a city designed for defense. They emerged from the press of buildings into a market. Everywhere they looked, booths were placed and people moved about them, buying and selling. Arutha said, "Look," and he pointed towards a citadel. It seemed to grow from the very face of a gigantic cliff, against which the city was nestled. It rose up a full 30 stories high. Another wall, 30 feet in height, circled the citadel, and around the wall another moat. Jimmy said, "They must expect some bad company." "The neighbours tend to be an irksome lot," commented Rold. At that, a few of the guards who understood the kingdom language laughed openly, nodding agreement. Arutha said, "If the booths come down, we ride across another bailey, giving those on the walls an open field of fire. Taking this city would cost a fortune in lives." Dwayne said, "As it was meant to." They entered the citadel and were ordered to dismount. Their horses were led away then. They followed Dwayne down into the dungeon. Though it seemed clean and fairly spacious, they were shown to a large common cell illuminated by a brass lantern. Dwayne motioned they should enter. He said, "You shall wait here. If you hear an alarm, come to the common court above, and you'll be told what to do. Otherwise, wait here until the protector sends for you. I'll have food sent down." With that, he left. Jimmy looked about and said, "They don't lock the door or take our weapons?" Baru said, "Why bother?" Laurie heaved himself across an old blanket placed upon the straw. "We certainly can't go anywhere. We can't pretend to be native of this city, and we couldn't hide. And I'm not about to fight my way out of here." Jimmy sat down next to Laurie. "All right. So what do we do now?" Aruthu removed his sword. "We wait." "Yeah, right, Castle, you greedy." "Well, maybe just a little bit, all right. What platforms are you using? I don't see all the other comments. You can enter the tavern through any of the portals that we used, which is you can enter through YouTube, you can enter through Twitch, you can enter through TikTok, Facebook, or Kick. The most bustling of all of the portals is usually Twitch and TikTok. Those are the ones where most of the conversation tends to happen, Robert. Don't worry about it, Esther. Make sure you're taking care of Elsie. That's far more important. Look, I am a deep-abided lover of money, alright? Just because I don't take it wherever I could get it doesn't mean that I'm not a deep-abided lover of money. I just believe that if I'm going to get money, it should be for something worthwhile. If I am providing something of exceptional value, I will make exceptional money. That is my thought process. Holds the servant of the chair. Yeah, again, Esther, don't at all worry about it. Don't at all worry about it. You showing up and sharing in the conversation and having fun with everybody's fine. Don't at all worry. Make sure you take care of Elsie. She's important. I'm still working on my book, The Warrior. It's coming in handy. Spectacular. Leaves $400 offering for the chair. You certainly can't ask me a question, Esther. You certainly can't. I think it's about time we run ads for Twitch actually. So yeah, I'm gonna pause here in a second. Let's see. Well, where we're at's a good place to pause. Let's see how many pages do we have left. We have roughly 17 pages left. 16 pages left. All right, Matty, I'll give it a look. Well, thank you, Bear. I appreciate it. And that ends up being a that ends up being the more or less the point. When you do what I do, like this, and I open the tavern to all of you, if what the tavern provides is worthwhile, then people are willing to purchase the books and the things that we put out. And for the people who are Doughboy, thank you for the follow over on. Oh, Rob, welcome in. Doughboy found us. That is, welcome in. Thank you for the follow. You've marked the tavern on your map in 2 places now. You should be able to find your way in. The next time you seek a story. Castle, have you ever been faced with an issue with your coda being constipated? If so, what did you do to help him? Never with coda. My pitbull, I had problems with that for a while. And generally speaking, we would feed him like a form of castor oil. Gold and silver and good lip. Exactly. Precisely that. Rich. No, you can't take care of Elsie. You must stay with the rest of the cult. No, joke. uh, are you talking about me, a man with self-esteem issues? I have a massive ego. What are we talking about? Is that me? I mark the tavern. Oh, I thought you were. You had asked about Coda. Coda has never been. I had a pit bull who had that issue, and we gave him a dog-safe version of castor oil, and that cleaned him right out. I marked the tavern on my map, but the tavern put a tracker on me when the goblins adopted me. Yeah, it's called an ankle bracelet, Matty. It's called an ankle bracelet. Ashley says buy the book. Yes. Speaking of which, I have my schedule is now more in order. I've put a lot of effort into putting things in order, and we will have a a more confirmed schedule for Twisted Fates and for the other books that are coming out. Do you have any days you do courses on Old Norse beliefs? I don't particularly. There's nothing that we do that's specifically that, but if you have a topic you would like me to do a story time or a long story time on for videos, I'll do that. And any questions that you have, you can come and ask here in the tavern. No, Luke, it's not you. Oh, God, I see. I was like, excuse me, I have a massive ego. It barely fits through the door. There, you can get dog-safe versions of castor oil, yes, Esther. I don't think that castor oil for human consumption is the same. Thank you, Destiny. I appreciate your love. It should be noted for anybody, well, for Rob, me and my family, we are culturally pagan, not religiously pagan. So we follow the cultural practices, but it's not religious. Like we're not Asatru or Wodenism or any of that. So that's an important note, just so that your full disclosure when you're listening to the things that we do versus what somebody who practices Asatru or Wodenism or these other more modern versions. And I don't say modern to belittle. I just say modern because they've made in like the last 100 years or so. Those are based off of old religious beliefs that were then augmented by archaeological data and then reconstructed in Iceland and in Denmark and in Sweden, I think. Yeah, absolutely. I just like to, because a lot of people come in asking me about religious aspects. I can tell you historically what we know about the religious aspects and practices, but my family has only ever, or at least for the last several hundred years, we've only really practiced these things culturally, not in a religious sense. So that's the only reason why I bring it up. Because I get a lot of people who come to me for religious questions, and I can't necessarily be a guide on the more modern religions because I don't know all that much about them. I know a little bit. I know the fundamentals, but I'm not deeply entrenched in them because most of what I talk about is historical and mythological, and we tell stories of old. But yes, I can answer most questions in that regard. And if there's any topic you want me to deep dive into, you can always ask, and I'll put it on the roster for shorter videos and for longer ones if you're not satisfied with what you get in the shorter stories. And what the ladies over on uh, TikTok are talking about, I put together this. It's a little handbook. These are because my family is Norse Gaelic. We are descendant from the Norwegian Nords and the southern Celtic peoples in Ireland. And this is a book of how. Now, this is just general information on the festivals of the year. And this is also just more specific practices on how my family celebrates these festivals. And you can get it on Amazon. I think it's like $8. And if you don't want to pay for the $8 because it's if you just want something to really access the information, I think we have it for on the ebook for like $4. Whatever the lowest price they would let us do on Amazon is what we have it up for. I'm glad you enjoy it, Esther. It's special for me because it's a taste of my home, and I haven't been home in 20 years. And there's little recipes from my family in the back as well. So me and my family. I'm glad, Milu. I'm glad. But yeah, so if you're interested in how my family celebrates, you can get this in the tavern shop, and it's on Amazon as well. Again, I don't remember what the price is, but it's whatever the lowest Amazon would let us put it up for. Worth every penny, so buy. I appreciate you, Ashley. I appreciate you. It is less shimmery in person. Yeah, the magic of the tavern makes it very shimmery and see through. It's got a nice soft matte finish in real life though. $8.99 physical, $4.99 ebook. Thank you, Destiny. I appreciate you. I'm not looking into religious. I just like the stories and lore and stories of my heritage, which is Irish, Germanic, and Scandinavian. Well, there you go. Me too. My family is primarily Irish, but my grandfather's family. So my mum and dad's family are Scottish, Irish, and German, but from Ireland. And then my grandfather, who raised me, his family are Irish and Norwegian. Um, and my father's family are related to him and descended from the same folk. So uh, we are primarily Norwegian and Southern Irish, with some Scottish in there somewhere. But I grew up in Southern Ireland. I'm Irish American, and I'm a more Celtic pagan. Right, and a lot of folks who are in here are that way. So, and I now live in America. A lot of people will bring this up as a gotcha. I do live in the United States now. I moved to the United States when I was in my teens, and I've lived here ever since. I came out here to start university at 15, and I had a falling out with my grandfather when I was 19, and I just never went home. I just stayed out here. So, my mom's side is Irish and Welsh, and my father's Scandinavian, and all are passed on, so I don't have much to go on. Well, I what I tell people is that my family's traditions are unique. We are not necessarily. I got what you meant. I got what you meant, Rob. Uh, my family's traditions are not necessarily the standard of traditions for what Irish and Scandinavian folk practice. Because my grandfather's family was a very isolated group of storytellers. Think like the Sean Key, right? Not specifically that, but my grandfather's family were very self-isolated, especially in the last 200 years when Irish folk were being very, very, very persecuted by the English government, and when we were killing each other during the Troubles. And then when the British came in and started doing all of that, my grandfather's family became very isolated over the last 200 years and generally kept to themselves, except for a few instances throughout history. So our traditions are not necessarily reflective of broader Norwegian or Irish culture. And so that's important. There are Zeralith, my friend, hello, hello. Good to see you. But there are echoes of it. Like there are echoes of Norwegian and Swedish and other Scandinavian cultures in our family's traditions, and there are echoes of Scottish and echoes of Irish because our families were that's what our clan was made up of. So there are echoes of it, but it's not the same as what is broadly practiced today. That's another important distinction. I'm always very open about that, but for some reason, people always want to try and give me crap about it. That is what I've always said, but people always want to give me some smack about it. The Romley said, "Are you aware of any websites or methods to trace your families back in Wales or that area?" Unfortunately, it's very difficult to track Celtic heritage. If you're talking about Scotland, you're talking about Ireland, you're talking about Wales, talking about Cornwall, it's very, very difficult to track your family, especially Irish, because the Irish Hall of Records burned down. I think it was in 1960, or it's either the fire was in 1960 or it was in 1904. I don't remember. But there was a fire in the primary Hall of Records for Irish birth, death, and marriages, and it lost the vast majority of those records dating before 1904. So it's very, very hard to trace a direct lineage back without just general lineage tracking. I don't know of any websites off the top of my head specifically for Wales. And I don't recommend doing something like 23andMe or Ancestry.com because these are not accurate. You can get an idea of where your blood comes from, like people with your phenotypes, where they come from. But they're not terribly accurate. And I know people get upset when I say that, but the reality is that they're just not terribly accurate. You can get a general idea of where your family came from with him, and it is fun. Like it is a fun thing to do because you can get like a general idea of where your family came from, but it's not terribly accurate. What about any large old cemeteries? There are some large cemeteries in Wales that have death records, but again, the direct lines are very difficult. Romley, if you were to send me a message, I'll message my cousin who knows more about these genealogy trackings than I do, and see if I can get a resource for you to trace back family names at the very least for Wales. If you were to send me a message so I'll remember, I'll do that. Yeah, it's been hard to track. It's very, very hard to track. And don't let anybody tell you otherwise, because it is incredibly difficult to track. The only reason why I have any knowledge of my family's bloodlines at all is because my grandfather's family keeps direct family lines. Like, literally, my grandfather's family records family lineages on their backs, and they hand those lineages down from son to son to son to son. And a lot of those lineages are broken because a lot of our family were killed off over the last 500 years. So even our family records, which again I'm not saying are historically veracity, but I trust my grandfather and his family. So obviously I'm going to believe it, but I don't expect anybody else to. But the only reason why I have any idea about my lineage at all is because of my grandfather's family. And the fact that they keep family records. But in general, like the general populace of records, there's nothing reliable. Mom's from Illinois farming, so my brother, my northern GB heritage is mostly Scots, second largest overall, Pop's fam, Swede, largest, and Norwegian, third overall. That's a hell of a mix. Yeah, we'll go ahead and run ads here. I'm going to let the ad timer run out. We'll finish the conversation, we'll let the ad timer run out, and then we'll start. All they can do is bloodline, and it's slim. Yeah, precisely. They give a large plus or minus when you do those. They do. Mine were destroyed when they came over on the boat. Right, and a lot of Irish folk fled Ireland during the famines. And when they got here, it was very oppressive because it was primarily English and Spanish stock who were already here in the States, and the English and the Spanish hate the Irish. Or at least I'll say did. I'll say did so that we don't cause any sort of. Thanks for reading my dumbish. That's all right. That's all right. It's all right, Rich. My dad's lineage is cool. It's on a scroll that's been added to and handed down since 1663. Yeah, the only chance you have of having anything that I would consider to be remotely accurate is if you have a family tracking that has been relatively unbroken. And that's incredibly rare. There are a few dozen families, maybe, that have something like that. Great reading, though, out of all of this. I do my best. I do my best. The translation to English is... The translation... So, when... The way that my family tracks our lineages is events are not tied to names. So you have to know how to read our family's particular dialect in order to understand the way that the stories are told. And people are given names, but they also have titles. So you have to know the difference between how a name is written and how a title is written. And some of the names that are given are hilarious. They're fantastical. Good night, Joker, my friend. I appreciate you being here, brother. I hope you rest well and rise tomorrow ready to face the day. Is it in French? Yes. Well, and what ends up happening with the way that our family assigns names is that you have a birth name, and then you have an adult name, and then you have, if you become a leader amongst the family, then you have a leader's name, and then you have a married name. So all of those names are titles that are carried, and it changes throughout your life. But you also have like a blood name, and that blood name is your common thread throughout everything. So the other ones are like titles, and then you have your blood name, which is your name that lasts throughout everything. I also want to thank you all for being here. The last month has been very hard. You guys have been an anchor for me, and it means a lot. Of course, Matty. We couldn't leave you alone if we tried. You're so loud that even if we weren't nearby, we would still be with you. See, look, Milu is having a stroke. She said, my ISOI. See what she said there? My ISOI. I feel outed again. We have to keep an eye on the Goblin King and make sure you're still keeping those goons in line. Precisely that. Precisely that. Alright, friends. We're gonna run the ads real quick over on Twitch. And then we're gonna get back into story time. Where everyone knows your name. Oh, Bear, do you have to get a CAT scan? That's no fun. Oh, who's getting a CAT scan? Oh, Milu has a CAT scan. Yeah, CAT scans are not fun. I'm so wide that having to be inside of any machine is dreadful for me. I'm not claustrophobic, but I do not like being in enclosed spaces with gigantic spinning magnetic. I probably should shut up. Never mind. I'll stay quiet until Milo is finished with her cat scan. I just I just realized I was going into why I don't like them. That's not a good idea. Sorry. When you're as wide as me, it's almost like you're gonna plug the hole, though. No, it's the waiting for the results. Okay, yeah, that's more rational. Nelia, thank you for the follow. I don't know where you followed that, but thank you for the follow. Asking for prayers for two students. One has leukemia and the other one's hit by a car. One has gosh, that's dreadful. Mary Beth, oh, you have as many prayers as we can offer. I'm sorry to hear that. I'm glad you dropped in, but gosh, that's dreadful. If it's possible, send the love of the tavern to them. I've never had leukemia, but I've been hit by a car, and it's not pleasant. I can't imagine it happening when you get hit by a child. Hit as a child. I hate to do it. Being inside of an MRI, a CAT scan, or an MRI machine with just that gigantic spinning magnet going all the way around it, and I've seen what they look like when they're taken apart. I don't like it. I don't care for it. I do not enjoy it. My wife has a decent way of tracking her lineage. She is descendant of Clan Sutherland, so her descent is recorded in history books. Yeah, you will have some names where your family is like relatively famous. So it's a little bit easier to track that. It's not going to be specific, it's not going to be perfect, but you'll have at least a little something to go on knowing basically where your family's come from. You might not have specific direct lines, but you have a general idea of lineage at that point. These people have to put everything into neat little boxes when there really are none. Yeah, it is one of the reasons why we stopped telling family stories is because we had people threatening our lives. Like we had people threatening us, threatening our family, threatening to like track down my grandfather and hurt him, which is a hilarious thing. I would love to see anybody go against my grandfather. He's over 100 years old and still one of the most frightening men I know. Thanks, I will do so. The boy who was hit broke both his legs and had surgery on one ankle. Well, all of the prayers for fast recovery then is as best as we can do because that's a dreadful thing to happen to a child. I've had 4 different CAT scans. Yeah, I don't like being scanned for anything. A part of me is just like I'd rather just die. It is Rob. It's terrible. And if you want, Mary Beth, we can sing a song for them. Let's see. We're at the halfway point. So why don't we do a song? We'll do 2 songs, and then we'll carry on with the rest of chapter 9. Karn had requested Santiana. I don't know if Karn's still in here though. So, Mary Beth, would you like to have a spirit-lifting song? Yeah, 100%. I agree with you, Rob. I agree with you. He still shows online. All right, well, if he's in here, then we'll do Santiana. And Rob, this might be what scares you off from the tavern. We do songs in between chapters and on the breaks. Nancy Whiskey. I don't know if I know Nancy Whiskey by heart. Let me see. I know I've heard this song before. Hang on a second. Hang on a second. Music is my language. The Irish Rovers version. Of course, we'd have to do the Irish Rovers version. The boys are legends. We couldn't just leave them on the bit. The other student just found out yesterday. Poor boys were upset and confused. They're autistic. Yeah, that makes it even harder to deal with. Hardship is inevitable. No matter what happens in life, you're always going to go through hardship. But when you have something that's unnecessarily traumatic as a child, especially when you live in a world of relative comfort, it's way more soul crushing when it does happen. Lying here recovering from surgery to correct bone issues in my feet following a car crash, I was hit by a drunk driver. I love a calming singing to help quiet my mind. Well, Olga, I hope that you do feel better. I hope you take care of yourself and rest. Make sure you hydrate. That's very important. And yeah, we'll have a couple of songs before we move on with story time. I know Santiano, but by Peyton Parrish. I know Peyton Parrish is a TikToker. I can't say I've listened to any of his music, but we have on occasion had people come in and request his music. I don't know any of his music though. I'm gonna look up the Irish Rovers version of that song real quick so I can get the tune because I know the song Nancy Whiskey, but I don't know it by heart. So let me get the. Oh, the Dubliners version is very good too, but now we're gonna. Nancy Whiskey, 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 and Nancy, oh. Whiskey, Nancy, Whiskey, 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 Nancy, oh. Emma Weaver, Captain Weaver, Emma Rash and roving blade, I've got silver in my pouches, I'd follow the roving trade. Whiskey, whiskey, Nancy, whiskey, 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 Nancy, oh. Whiskey, Nancy, whiskey, 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 Nancy, oh. It came in my Glasgow city. Nancy whiskey I chanced to smell. I sat down beside her. 7 long years I loved her well. Okay, all right. I think I can do it. We're gonna give it a try. Yeah, a lot of people seem to like Peyton Parrish. I've not had a chance to encounter him, and most of the songs that some of the songs that people have requested by him, we had by other people that I'd already heard, so I hadn't needed to go and look him up. But I know that he's a bit of a what's the word? He's a bit of a beloved. I may have to skedaddle. My littlest just came in with a nightmare and wants all the snuggles. That's all right, love. Go and give it to him. You talked about whiskey so much in the stream it got stuck. Did I? Are we? It looks like we're still steady on my end, thank God. But I also found out that found at the Celtic Thunder concert I went to last month that Danny Boy is about. I heard the song for years and never knew. Uh, from what it is about, yeah. So, from my memory, Danny Boy is about a young lad going off to war or immigrating away for better opportunities, and then it's either sung from the perspective of the parents or the lover of the individual. That's my understanding of it. I could be wrong, uh, but that's my remembrance of it. Okay, we're gonna do Santiana first, and then we're gonna do Nancy Whiskey. Now, Nancy Whiskey, I have never done before uh, during story time, so it might be terrible. We're gonna do the longest John's version of Santiana. Jonas, hello! Welcome in. Good to see you. Just in time for a little interlude song. We're gonna do two songs, and then we're gonna go and. It's a tavern song. It's okay if it isn't the best, if it's fun, right? Yeah, absolutely. That's the founding principle of singing in the tavern. It doesn't have to be doesn't have to be good. It just has to be. We just have to enjoy ourselves. So if you've never sung a song with us before, if you know the words, you got to sing along. All right, hang on. Let me mute the other music. Okay, here we go. O Santiana, gain the day. Away, Santiana. Napoleon of the West, they say, along the plains of Mexico. Well, heave her up and away we'll go. Away, Santiana. Heave her up and away we'll go. Along the plains of Mexico. She's a fast clipper ship and a bully good crew. Away, Santiana. And an old salty Yank for a captain too. Along the plains of Mexico. Heave her up and away we'll go. Away, Santiana. Heave her up and away we'll go. Along the plains of Mexico. Santiana fought for gold. Away, Santiana. Oh, round Cape Horn through the ice and snow, along the plains of Mexico. Well, heave her up and away we'll go. Away, Santiana. Heave her up and away we'll go. Along the plains of Mexico. 'Twas on the field of the Molly del Rey. Away, Santiana. Well, both his legs got blown away along the plains of Mexico. Well, heave her up and away we'll go. Away, Santiana. Heave her up and away we'll go along the plains of Mexico. It was a fierce and bitter strife. Away, Santiana. The General Taylor took his life along the plains of Mexico. Well, heave her up and away we'll go. Away, Santiana. Heave her up and away we'll go along the plains of Mexico. Santiana, now we mourn. Away, Santiana. We left him buried off Cape Horn, along the plains of Mexico. Hey, Bears, how's it going? Thank you for the song, my friends. Always lovely. All right, next we're gonna try it for the first time. Nancy Whiskey. This is a much more light-hearted song. I feel your voice would go well with an old Norse song called My Mother Told Me. My Mother Told Me is one of the most popular requests for shanty songs in the tavern. If you'd like to request it for the end, Rob, I'll do it. I'll do it at the end of the story time, if you so like. Danny Boy, the London Derriere, is a song sung by a woman standing on a hill looking down on an immigration ship, taking her sweetheart away to the Americas via Lofoyle, Irish North Coast due to hardship. Yes, I believe that's correct. Okay, you probably know better than I, but my recollection is that it was either a parent or a lover watching a loved one either emigrate away or go off to war. That was my inclination. Self-inflicted doom is now illegal in North Korea, punishable by death. All right, let's give it a go. And to start it in the traditional Irish Rovers way, may you spend half an hour in heaven before the devil knows you're dead. Whiskey, whiskey, Nancy, whiskey. Whiskey, whiskey, Nancy, oh. Whiskey, whiskey, Nancy, whiskey. Whiskey, whiskey, Nancy, oh. I am a weaver, a Colton weaver. I am a rash and roving blade. I've got silver in my pouches, and I follow the roving trade. Whiskey, whiskey, Nancy, whiskey. Whiskey, whiskey, Nancy, oh. Whiskey, whiskey, Nancy, whiskey. Whiskey, whiskey, Nancy, oh. I came in by Glasgow City. Nancy whiskey I chanced to smell. I went and sat down beside her. 7 long years I loved her well. Whiskey, whiskey, Nancy, whiskey. Whiskey, whiskey, Nancy, oh. The whiskey, whiskey, Nancy, whiskey. Whiskey, whiskey, Nancy, oh. The more I kissed her, the more I loved her. The more I loved her, the more she smiled. I forgot my mother's teaching. Nancy soon had me beguiled. Whiskey, whiskey, Nancy, whiskey. Whiskey, whiskey, Nancy, oh. Whiskey, whiskey, Nancy, whiskey. Whiskey, whiskey, Nancy, oh. When I awoke in the early morning, to quench my thirst it was my need. Tried to rise but was unable. Nancy whiskey had me by the head. Whiskey, whiskey, Nancy whiskey. Whiskey, whiskey, Nancy, oh. Whiskey, whiskey, Nancy whiskey. Whiskey, whiskey, Nancy, oh. Come on, landlady, what's me owing? Tell me what there is to pay. 15 shillings is all reckoning. Pay me quickly and go away. Whiskey, whiskey, Nancy, whiskey. Whiskey, whiskey, Nancy, oh. Whiskey, whiskey, Nancy, whiskey. Whiskey, whiskey, Nancy, oh. Come on, you weavers, you Colton weavers. Come all you young men where you be. Beware of whiskey, Nancy, whiskey. She'll ruin you like she ruined me. Whiskey, whiskey, Nancy, whiskey. Whiskey, whiskey, Nancy, oh. Whiskey, whiskey, Nancy, whiskey. Whiskey, whiskey, Nancy, oh. Thank you for the song, my friends. Michael, you said you want Star of the County Down? I would love to do Star of the County Down. We'll do that one at the end, too. I don't think we've ever done Star of the County Down. It suits all of us that have sown our seeds in the other lands that our ancestors traveled. Absolutely. Absolutely. I hope that I did you justice there, Milu. Rob, I hope you enjoyed. Collies, give me a call when you get a chance. Castle, is this song whiskey? I've never heard of it. So it's called Nancy Whiskey. It's by the Irish Rovers, and it's a very old song. It's been around for ages. But it wasn't a particularly popular song. But it has been around for some time. Have you ever done Whiskey in the Jar? I have tried to do Whiskey in the Jar. But because my cadence is not fast enough, Whiskey in the Jar ends up sounding strange when I sing it. But I'm always willing to give it another go. I think the last time we tried Whiskey in the Jar Bears was probably well over a year ago at this point. I have not done Scarborough Fair, but I do know Scarborough Fair. Rob. Scarborough Fair is actually one of my favourite folk songs. I love it a lot. Alright, friends, we are going to delve back into Darkness of Sethanon. We'll probably read for another 45 minutes, and then we'll do some more songs before I send you all off out into the world. For hours they waited. Food was brought and they ate. When the meal was finished, Dwayne returned and said, "The Protector approaches. I would know your names and your purpose." All eyes turned to Arutha, who said, "I think we gain nothing by hiding the truth, and we may gain something if we are forthright." He said to Dwayne, "I am Arutha, Prince of Krondor." Dwayne said, "That is a title." "Yes," said Arutha. "We remember little of the kingdom. We of Armangar, nor do we have such titles. Is it important?" Roll nearly burst. "Damn it, man! He's brother to the king! And this is Duke Martin here. He's the second most powerful lord in the kingdom." Dwayne seemed unimpressed. He was given the others' names and then asked, "Your purpose?" Arutha said, "I think we shall wait to speak to this with your protector." Dwayne seemed not the least offended by the answer and left. Another hour went by, and then the door flew open. Dwayne entered, and a blonde man a step behind. Arutha looked up expectantly, for perhaps this was the protector. This was the first man they had seen not in the attire of brown armor. He was dressed in a long coat of chain over a red knee-length gambeson. A chain coif had been thrown back, leaving his head uncovered. He wore his hair cut short and was clean-shaven. His face was one of the one most would have counted open and friendly, but there was a hardness around his eyes that he regarded the captives. He said nothing, simply looking from face to face. He studied Martin, and, as if noting familiar something familiar in him. Then he looked at Arutha for a long minute. He stared at the prince, his eyes betraying no reaction. With a single nod to Dwayne, he turned and left. There's something about that one, said Martin. What? I don't know, but I could swear I'd seen him before. And he wore a blazon upon his breast, though I couldn't make it out through the chain. A short time later, the door opened again. Whoever stood before it remained outside, only his silhouette visible. Then a similar ear-shattering bellow of a laugh erupted, and the man stepped forward. I'll be a son of a saint. Oh, hang on. I'll be a son of a saint. It is true, he said, a broad grin splitting his grey short beard. Arutha, Martin, and Jimmy all sat staring in disbelief. Arutha rose slowly, not able to trust his senses. Before him stood the last man he had expected to see entering his cell. Jimmy jumped up and said, Amos! Amos Trask, one-time pirate and companion to Arutha and Martin during the Rift War, stepped into the cell. The burly sea captain engulfed Arutha in a bear hug, then did the same for Martin and Jimmy. He was quickly introduced to the others, and Arutha said, How did you get here? That's a tale, me son. One with great sagas, but not for now. The Protector is expecting the pleasure of your company. He's not given to be kept waiting gracefully. We can exchange histories after. But for a moment, you and Martin must come with me. The others are to wait here. Martin and Arutha followed, Amos down the hall and up the stairs into the courtyard. He quickly rose into the Citadel's main building and began to hurry. I can't tell you much, except we must hurry, he said as they reached the odd platform in some sort of tower. He motioned them to stand beside him. He pulled on a rope and suddenly the platform was rising. What's this? Inquired Martin. A hoisting platform, a lift. We need to carry heavy missiles to the catapult on the roof. It's powered by some horses on a winch below. Also keeps a fat former sea captain from having to dash up 27 courses of stairs. But my wind's not what it once was, lads. His tone turned serious. Now listen, I know you've 100 questions, but they must go begging for a moment. I'll explain to you everything after you speak to One Eye. The Protector? Asked Arutha. That's him. No, I don't know how to tell you, but you're in for a shock. I want you to keep your temper in check until you and I can sit and talk. Martin, keep a close eye on the lad. He put his hand upon Arutha's shoulder and leaned close. Fitmate, I remember. Here you are not a prince. You're a stranger. And with these people, that usually means crowbait. Strangers are rare and seldom welcome in Ermengar. The lift halted and they got off. Amos hurried down a long corridor. Along the left wall was a series of vaulted windows, providing an unobstructed view of the city and the plain beyond. Martin and Arutha could only afford a quick glance at the vistas, but it was impressive. They hurried as Amos turned in motion for them to keep up. The blond man was waiting for them before the door. Why didn't you say anything? Asked Amos in a harsh whisper. Jerking his thumb towards the door, Amos said, He wanted a full report from you. Oh. He wanted a full report from you. You know how he can be. Nothing personal until business is finished. He doesn't show it, but he's taking it hard. The blond man nodded, his face a grim mask. I could scarce believe Gwynath is dead. It's a heavy blow to us all. He removed the chain mail coat, and upon his gambeson, over his heart, was a small red and gold device. But he turned away and passed through the door before Arutha could comprehend the particulars of that. That's true, Bears. I haven't been able to practice them because all the ones that I know are fast, like the old Irish Rovers and Dubliner versions. So so I stepped away to find this information. Danny boy, okay, so the son is about to go off to war, and he and his father are having a conversation, acknowledging that this might be the last time they ever see each other. The son is worried about leaving his father behind, and the father says, "Son, if he comes home and the father has passed on, the son should know that he, the father, is thinking of him and is proud of him, and ask the son to come and visit the graveside and say a prayer and no, yes, yeah." So again, my understanding, there's two versions of the song. One version of the song is that, and then there's another version from a lover's perspective. The lover's version, I think, is more recent, or it might be older. I don't remember. One of them is older, one of them is newer, but I won't pretend that I know because I don't. I spoke with the vets, but unfortunately, they're not very hopeful. I have a pro colon and dietist care, prebiotics and probiotics that support the digestive system by restoring good bacteria to the gut, which antibiotics can destroy. And that's important. That he, the father, is thinking of him, proud of him, and that the son should come to his graveside, say a prayer, and know that he will be smiling down upon him with pride in his heart. Yeah, it's beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. All right, Mary Beth, rest well. I don't know if you're still in, but have a nice night and best of blessings to the children. All right, where was I? Of that crest, Amos said, "Protect his own patrol. Has ambushed and some of our people died. He's in a rare foul mood, for he blames himself. So tread lightly. Come, he'll have my ear if we wait any longer." Amos pushed open the door and motioned for the brothers to enter. They were in a conference chamber of some sort, a large round table dominating the room. Against the far wall was a massive fireplace, sent forth warmth and light. Many maps covered the walls, save for the left wall, but had more of a large window. And overhead, a circular candle holder provided more light. Before the fireplace stood a blond man speaking with another, who wore all black, from tunic to trousers to the chain he still hadn't removed. His clothing was covered in dust, and his face was dominated by a large black eye patch over his left eye. His hair was grey and black in equal proportions, but his carriage showed nothing of age. For an instant, Arutha was struck by a certain resemblance. He glanced at Martin, who returned the look. He saw it as well, but more in bearing and manner than in physical appearance, this man resembled their father. Then the man stepped forward, and Arutha could see clearly the blazon upon his tabard. A golden eagle spread his wings upon a sable field. Arutha knew the cause of the discomfort, that he had felt at glimpsing the flag atop the gate. Only one man in the world wore that crest. He was once counted the finest general in the kingdom, then branded a traitor by the king as being responsible for the death of Nita's father. Here was their own father's most hated enemy, the man called Protector by the men of Armangard, waved towards a pair of seats. His voice was deep and commanding, though his words were spoken softly. "Won't you have a seat, cousins?" asked Guy Dubastira. Arutha's hand tightened upon the hilt of his sword an instant. Then he said nothing as he and Martin sat. His mind reeled as 100 questions crashed together, and finally he said, "How?" Guy interrupted him as he took a chair. "It is a long story. I'll leave it to Amos to tell you. I have other concerns at the moment." A strange pained look was briefly revealed. He turned away for an instant, then back to the brothers. He studied Martin. You look a little like Boric did when young. Do you know that? Martin nodded. Guy said to Arutha, you favor him somewhat, but you also look like your mother. The shape of the eyes, if not the color. He said the last softly. Then his tone shifted as a soldier brought in mugs of ale. We have no wine in Armangar. The making of it is a lost art here, as the climate is ill suited for grape harvests. But they do make a stout ale, and I'm thirsty. Join me if you wish. He poured himself a mug and let Ruth and Martin serve themselves. Guy drained his mug, and for a moment his mask fell again and said, Gods, I'm tired. Then he looked at the brothers. Well then, when our man reported who Dwayne had fetched in, I could scarcely believe my ears. Now my eyes bear witness. Arutha's gaze flicked to where the tall blond man hovered by the fire. Armand. He studied the blazon, a shield Ben Dexter, with a crouching red dragon chief on a field of gold, and an upraised lion's claw in gold upon a field of red. Martin said, Armand de Sivney. The man inclined his head towards the Duke. Baron of Gwynholt, Marshal of the Knights of St. Gunther, wondered Arutha. Martin swore. I'm an idiot. I knew I'd seen him. He was at the palace in Millanon in the days before you joined us, Arutha. But he was not there the day of the coronation. The day you arrived. The blond man smiled slightly. At your service, Your Highness. Not as I recall. You were not among those who swore fealty to Liam. The blond man shook his head. True. His expression seemed almost one of regret. Guy said, Again, part of a story of how we came here. For the moment, I need concern myself with why you're here. And if that reason poses threat to this city, why did you come north? Arutha sat silently, his arms crossed before him, studying Dubas Tira through narrowed eyes. He was off balance from finding Guy Budastira, Dubastira in control of the city. He hesitated answering the question. The importance of finding Myrmandamus might in some way run counter to what Guy saw as his best interest, and Arutha was suspicious of anything involving Guy. Guy had almost openly plotted to seize the throne from himself, almost participating in a civil war. Anita's father had died by his order. Dubastira was everything Arutha had been taught to dislike and mistrust by his father. He was a true Eastern lord, shrewd, cunning, and well practiced in the subtleties of intrigue and treachery. Of Desevni, Arutha knew little, save that he had been numbered among the most capable rulers in the East. But he was Guy's vassal, and always had been. And while the prince liked and trusted Amos, Trask had been a pirate and was not above law-breaking. No, there was ample reason for caution. Martin watched Arutha, waiting for an answer. The prince's manner was truculent to all outward appearances, but that was only what the others in the room saw. Martin knew that his brother was wrestling with the unanticipated shock of the moment, and the desire that nothing interfere with his mission to find and kill Myrmandamus. Martin glanced around the room and could see that Amos and Armand both seemed concerned at the lack of quick response from Arutha. When no answer was forthcoming, Guy slammed his hand down on the table. Play not with my patience, Arutha. He pointed his finger. You're not a prince in this city. In Armangar, only one voice commands, and that voice is mine. He sat back, his face flushed behind his black eye patch. Tyson, thank you for the resub, my friend. 11 months. Cheers. Tips of the tavern keep it always appreciated. Softening his voice, he said, I mean, I mean no rudeness. I have my mind on other things. He lapsed into thoughtful silence while he stared at him for a long time. At last he said, I've no idea what you're doing here, Ruther, but something of the oddest nature is dictating your choices, or you didn't learn a damn thing from your father. The Prince of Krondor and two of the most powerful dukes in the kingdom, Salador and Crotty, riding into the Northlands with a mercenary, a Haddati Hillman, and two boys. Either you're totally without wit, or you're clever far beyond my understanding. Aruthu remained silent, but Martin said, There have been changes since you were last in the kingdom, Guy. Guy again lapsed into silence. I think there is a story I need to know. I cannot promise you aid, but I think your purposes may prove compatible. He said to Amos, Find them better quarters and feed them. And to Aruthu, I'll give you until the morning, but when we speak next, do not tempt my patience. I must know what brought you here, it is vital. You may seek me out before tomorrow if you decide to speak. His voice again became heavy with some emotion. I should be here most of the night. With a wave of his hand, he indicated that Amos should lead them away. Aruthu and Martin followed the seaman out into the hall, and Amos halted once the door was closed. He looked at Aruthu and Martin for a long moment. For a couple of bright lads, you both did right well in showing how to be stupid. Amos wiped his mouth with the back of his hand. He belched and then stuffed another slice of bread with cheese into his mouth. Then what? Then, answered Martin, when we got back, Anita had Aruthu pledged within the hour, and Carline and Laurie were betrothed not long after. Ha! Remember that first night out of Krondor aboard the Sea Swift? You told me your brother was hooked. Was a hooked fish. Never stood a chance. Aruthu smiled at the remark. They were all sitting around a large basket of food and a hogshead of ale, in a spacious room and a suite given to them for their use. There were no servants. Food had been brought by soldiers, and they served themselves. Baru scratched absently at Blutarch's ear, while the dog chewed on a joint of beef. No one had seemed concerned about the beast hound staying with the Haddati. Then Aruthu said, Amos, we've been chatting for half an hour. Will you tell us what's going on? How in the world did you get here? Amos looked about. What's going on? Is you're prisoners of sorts? So you'll stay until One Eye changes things? Now I've seen my share of cells. This is the nicest I've seen. With a sweep of his hand, he indicated the large and spacious room. Now, if you are mind to be in prison, here's a good one. His eyes narrowed. But hold tight. It is a prison, laddie. Look, Arutha, I spent years with you and Martin, here to know something about you. I don't remember you ever being such a suspicious lot, and I expect some things over the last 2 years have caused you to trim your sails that way. But here you've got to live, breathe, and eat trust, or you're dead. Do you understand me? No, answered the prince. Just what do you mean? Amos thought long and hard for a moment, then said, Is it a city of people surrounded by nothing but enemies? Trust of your neighbour is a way of life, if you want to keep your breathing. He paused and considered. Look, I'll tell you how we came to be here, and then maybe you'll understand. Amos settled back, poured himself another mug of ale, and began his story. Well, when I last saw you two was as I was sailing out of the harbour aboard your brother's ship. Martin and Arutha both smiled in a remembrance. Now, if you'll recall, You had everyone in the city looking for Guy. You didn't find him because he was hiding somewhere no one thought to look. Martin's eyes opened in wonder, one of the few unguarded reactions any of those in the room had ever seen in him. On the king's ship! When he heard King Roderick had named Liam heir, Guy cut from Crondor and ran for Rillenon. In hopes of seeing something of his plans salvaged by the Congress of Lords met to ratify the cession. But by the time Liam got to Rillenon, enough of the Eastern Lords had gathered for Guy to judge the lay of the land. It was clear Liam would be king. This was before anyone knew about you, Martin. So Guy resigned himself of being tried for treason. Then the morning of the convocation and coronation, word came about Martin's legitimized. So Guy waited to see what would happen later in the afternoon. Waiting to seize the moment, commented Ruther. Don't be so quick to judge, snapped Amos. Then he continued in softer tones. He was worried over a civil war, and if it came, he was ready to fight. But while he waited to see what would happen, he knew Colderrick's men were out snooping about. He'd been dodging them, barely, a couple of times. Guy still had friends in the capital, and some with him smuggled him and Armand aboard the Royal Swallow. God, what a pretty craft she was. Just about time the Ashopian priest reached the palace to start up the coronation. Anyway, when I borrowed the ship, we discovered we had passengers. Now I was ready to toss Guy and Armand overside, or turn about and deliver him tossed up to you, but Guy can be a convincing enough rogue in his way, so I agreed to take him to Bastira in exchange for a healthy price. So he could plot against Liam, said Arutha incredulously. Damn it, boy, bellowed Amos. I let you out of my sight for a pissing 2 years, and you go and get downright tick-headed on me. Looking at Martin, he said, Must be the company you've been keeping. Martin said to his brother, Let him finish. No, it wasn't to plot treason. It was so he could put his affairs in order. He figures Liam ordered his head, so he was going to tidy up some things. Then I was going to bring him back to Rillenon so he'd give himself up. Aruthu looked stunned. About the only thing he wanted was to get pardon for Armand and his other followers. Anyway, we reached Bastira, stayed a few days. Then word came of the banishment. Guy and I had become little more friendly by then. So we walked and made another deal. He wanted to leave the kingdom, seek a place. He's a fine general, and there were many who would have given him service, especially Kesh. But he wanted to go someplace remote, even though he would never have to face the kingdom soldiers in the field. He figured to head east, then turn south, and make for the Kishian Confederacy. We might have made a name for ourselves down there. He was going to be a general, I thought. I'd take a bash at being an admiral. We had a spot of trouble with Armand for Guy. Wanted to send him back. The Gilded Hope, but Armand's a funny one. He swore fealty to Guy, but Guy years before. And as he'd not sworn to Liam, he'd not quit his liege lord service. Damnedest argument I've ever heard. Anyway, he's still with us, so we set sail for the Confederacy. But 3 days out of Bastera, a fleet of Circean pirates took after us. I'd be willing to take on 2 or even 3 of the bastards, but 5. The Swallow was a fast lady, but the pirates stayed right on her heels. For 4 days it saw clear skies, unlimited visibility and fair winds. For Kingdom Sea pirates, they were a canny lot. They spread out across each of the following quarter, so I couldn't lose them at night. Each night I'd sail around this way and that. Then they'd come morning, they'd be 5 sails to the horizon. They were like lampreys. I couldn't shake 'em. Then we hit weather. A line of squall came roaring out of the west, driving us east for a day and a half. Then a full gale blew up, carrying us north along uncharted coast. The only thing good that came out by the storm was we shook loose of the Sethanon at last. By the time I found safe harbour, we were in waters I'd never heard of, let alone seen. We lay up, took stock. The ship was in need of some repair. Not serious enough to sink her, but enough to make sailing damned inconvenient. I took her up a big river. Must have been somewhere east of the kingdom proper. Well, the second night we were at anchor. Damn army of goblins swarmed the ship, killing the sentries and capturing the rest of us. Bastards fired the Swallow and burned her down to the waterline. But they marched us to a camp in the woods where some dark brothers were waiting. They took charge of us. We were all marched north. The lads I'd recruited were a crusty lot, but most of them died on the march. Damn goblins didn't care a spit. We got almost nothing to eat, and if a man took sick and couldn't walk, they killed him on the spot. I got a touch of belly flux, and Guy and Armand have carried me for 2 days. And believe me, that wasn't pleasant for any of us. We moved northwest, heading up into the mountains, then over them. Lucky for us it was late summer, or we'd have all frozen to death. Still, it was touch and go. There we met some of the Dark Brothers, and more prisoners. But most of the prisoners spoke an odd tongue. Not like the Japanese. A lot of these others spoke King's tongue, or languages from the Eastern Kingdoms. Michael, good night. Thank you for joining us, my friend. Rest well, and may you rise tomorrow ready to face the day. We'll see you back on Thursday for more stories, my friend. We're almost done. I think we've got about 15 minutes of story left. Well, the second night. Ooh, we know how to read that. Hang on. We moved northwest, heading up into the mountains, then over them. Already read that. Twice more, we were joined by other bands of brothers, of human prisoners, all marching west. I lost track of time, but we must have travelled for over 2 months by then. By the time we were ready to cross the plain, which I now know as the plain of Isbandia, it was starting to snow. I know where we were headed now, though they now didn't. Merman Damas would gather in slaves and Sarsagath to pull his siege machines. Then one night our guards were hit by a company of horsemen from here. Of the 200 or so slaves, only 20 survived, for the goblins and Dark Brothers took us killing as soon as the horsemen struck camp. Guy strangled one with his chains as it tried to run me through with a sword. I picked up the sword and killed another just after it clawed the protector's eye out. Our man was wounded, but not quite enough to kill him. He's a tough bastard. But we 3 and 2 others were the only survivors of the Swallow. From there, we were brought here. Arutha said, an incredible tale. He sat back against the wall. Still, these are incredible times. Martin said, how is it an outlander came to rule here? Amos took another drink. These are strange folks, Martin. As honest and fine as you'll find anywhere, in some ways, but they're as alien as those Surani in other ways. They have no hereditary rank here, instead placing great store in ability. Within a few months it was clear Guy was a first-rate general, so they gave him a company to command. Armand and I served under him. Within a few months it was clear that he was by far the best commander they had. They got nothing like Congress of Lords here, Arutha. When something needs to be decided, they call everyone into a meeting in a great square, where the market's held. They call the meeting the Volksrod, and they all call a vote. Otherwise, all decisions are left to those elected by the Volksrod. They summoned Guy and told him he was now protector of Ermengar, It's like being named King's Marshal, but also something like being responsible for the safety of the city as well. A chief sheriff, constable, reeve, and bailiff all rolled up into one. Arutha said. What did the previous protector think of this? She mostly thought it was a good idea. She proposed it. She? Said Jimmy. Amos said. That's another thing around here it takes a bit of getting used to. Women are just like men. I mean, when it comes to giving and taking orders, voting in the Volksrad and other things, you'll see. Amos' expressions got distant. Her name was Gwynnath. She was as fine a woman as I ever met. I'm not ashamed to admit I was a little in love with her. Myself, though, his tone turned a little lighter. I'll never settle down, but if I ever did, that's the sort for me. He looked down into his ale mug. But seeing Guy, I know some things about him. Learned slowly over the last 2 years, Arutha. I can't betray a trust. If he ever tells you himself, fine. But let's just say there was something like man and wife there at the end, deeply in love. She was one step aside. She was the one to step aside and turn the city over to him. She would have died for him. As he for her. She rode beside him and fought like a lioness. His voice softened. She died yesterday. Arutha and Martin exchanged looks, and the others, Baru and Rold, remained silent. Laurie thought of Carline and shivered. Even the boys could sense something of the loss Amos felt. Arutha remembered what Amos had said to Armand just before they had met Guy. And Guy blames himself. Yeah, one eye's much like any good captain. If it happened under his command, it's his responsibility. Amos sat back, his face a thoughtful mask. The goblins and Armangarians used to keep things pretty simple for a long time. Run out, break a few heads, then retreat. The Armangarians were a lot like the Sirani, fierce warriors, but no real organization. But when Mermandamus showed up, the brothers got downright organized, even to the company level. Now they can coordinate 2,000 or 3,000 warriors under a single commander. The Brotherhood was punishing the Armangarians regularly when we showed up. Guy proved a blessing to the Armangarians. Knowing modern warcraft. He trained them, and now they're damn good cavalry and fair mounted infantry. Though getting the Armangarian off his horse can be a chore. Still, Guy makes progress. They're back to holding their own with the brothers. But yesterday, nobody spoke for a long while. Martin said, "We have some matters to discuss, Amos. You know we wouldn't be here unless something of the gravest consequences was happening in the kingdom." Well, I'll let you alone for a while. You were good companions, and I know you to be honourable men. He got to his feet. But one more thing. The Protector is the most powerful man in this city. But even his power is limited to matters of safety for Armengar. If he sends you an old debt with you, no one would interfere while you fought a duel man to man. If you won, you'd be cut loose to make your own way, and no one in the city raise a hand against you. But all he has to do is call you spies, and you'd be dead before you turned around. Arutha, Martin, I know there's bad blood between you and Guy. Because of your father, because of Erland. And I now know some of what lay behind that. I'll leave that for Guy to sort out with you two in time. But you must know something of how the weather turns up here. You're free to come and go, as long as you don't break the law, or as long as God doesn't order you tossed out, or hung, or whatever. But he takes responsibility. He guarantees your good behaviour, all of you. If you betray the city, his life is forfeit along with your own. As I said,
These folk are fairly strange in their ways, and their ways can be harsh. So understand what I say when I tell you this. Betray God's trust, even if you think it's for the good of the kingdom. And these people will kill you. And I'm not sure I'd even try to stop them.
You know, we'd not break trust, Amos, answered Martin.
I know, but I wanted to understand how strongly I feel. I'm fond of both you lads, and would dislike seeing your throats cut almost as much as you would.
Saying nothing more, Amos left. Arutha settled back, considering all that Amos had told him, and suddenly realized he was bone tired. He looked to Martin, and his brother nodded. No further discussion was required. Arutha knew he would tell the complete story to Guy in the morning. It's gonna make me run ads here for a minute again, friends. Give me. We're gonna take a quick 3 minute reprieve, and then we'll finish up. We've got 4 pages left. It was so your dad sent a PDF of your book to your grandmother. So for because we're gonna be ending up here shortly. We have 4 pages left. Probably about 10 minutes of reading left. Uh, we had also Rob. I just saw that you became a supporter over on Facebook. I appreciate you for that. Thank you kindly, my friend. The support is deeply appreciated. Uh, so we're gonna do. My mother told me for Rob, and then somebody had requested Star of the County Down, and then I think those were the two requests that we got. It appears that Guy has more or less moved on from his mistakes in the kingdom. Not mistakes, because it seems like he genuinely was trying to overthrow Erland and and Roderick and take the kingship for himself. But it seems to me that because of what he has been through, his only concern right now is keeping himself and the Hadati, or the Armangarians as they're called, keeping them alive. That seems to be his only concern. So while I would say that it's safe to say that he doesn't particularly want to start grief with Rutha and Martin. Yeah, we can throw the mermaid song in there as well, Esther. I think that that's well enough. It'll be very uplifting. The mermaid song, we can do Start of the County Down, and we'll do My Mother Told Me for Rob. Matty's out here infecting his grandmother with. We can do Danny Boy. I do the shorter version of Danny Boy though. The longer version, I'm too pitchy to do the long version of Danny Boy. But yeah, we can do Danny Boy. That'll be the fourth thing. We'll do Mermaid, Danny Boy, Start of the County Down, and My Mother Told Me. Matty's out here infecting his grandmother with book talk. Of course, Esther, of course. All right, let's finish up. Looks like the odds are done. Why are people so against beans on toast? I think it's specifically just because it's British. Because Americans have food that is much more questionable. Like biscuits and gravy is just as questionable as beans on toast. If not more, because all biscuits and gravy is just beef fat uh mixed with like flour and milk, right? And then that's poured over bread. So I think that it's literally just because it's British that people take the piss out of it, which is totally acceptable, by the way. Like we take the mick out of the French all the time. Maddie's out here inflicting all of our brains. Yeah, I agree that biscuits and gravy is much more delicious, especially a good sausage biscuits and gravy. I will agree with that. Beans on toast is okay. Like I like bean like a proper fry up in England or in Ireland is okay. Like it's a mid tier breakfast. It's not gonna blow you out of the water, and it's not gonna be some English beans do. If you get it in Ireland, it'll probably have sausage in it. But if you get it in England, it doesn't always. They're not always sausage. Sometimes it's just sweet beans. So are they on the same planet as the first book? As much as I tried, I haven't been able to keep up as much as I want. Yes. So this is Midkemia. This is where Pug starts out in the first book. The Kellowan, which is where the Surani are, that is the other place. Esther, if you do nothing else, like if you need to, your life goal needs to be to have proper American biscuits and gravy, just to try it. I've not seen cheese on beans and toast anywhere off the top of my head. Hey, Hex, how's it going, my friend? It has been a hot minute. I hope you're all right. I hope you're doing well. Putin is good. Uh, I don't know if I know what pemmican is. I recognize the name. I don't know if I don't know if I know what it is off the top of my head. Omelette on with melted cheese on top. Yeah, that's very good. For the longest time at Denny's, the $2 sausage biscuits and gravy was awesome for the price. Yeah, absolutely. See, but the thing is that if you have proper gravy, like a proper sausage gravy, is so thick that it doesn't make the bread soggy. So you have a nice moist biscuit that is nice and buttery, and then you have a proper like thick sausage gravy. I mean, if you take forever to eat it, it'll get soggy. But if you eat it fresh while it's still hot, yeah, yeah, that's true, Bear. I've been pretty good. Life has gotten busy, but in a good way. I'm now in a choir, which is really exciting. Starting to pick up my streaming too. How about you? I hope everything's going well. We had a bit of drama with Twitch not wanting us to be allowed to open the doors for story time, but otherwise, yeah, we've been pretty all right. The lady and I have been doing a lot of work, and it's been absolutely lovely. And congratulations, choir is fun. Choir is good fun, and that's very exciting. And good job getting back into streaming as well. There's an Irish fellow on YouTube, or at least he who makes giant swords. Pretty sure his channel is Big Giant Swords, and he did it with cheese. So it's curious. I've never seen a restaurant do it with cheese. Irish will put cheese on just about anything, though. They won't tell you that, but Irish are like Americans in the sense that they'll put cheese on just about everything, and potatoes go to every meal. Especially Northern Ireland. No, the Northern Irish will put potatoes and cheese on everything. Also, hot tip: if you have one near you, a Waffle House omelette bowls are extra good, topped with sausage gravy, and so are the hash browns. Yeah, good poutine is really good, but bad poutine is really bad. Poutine is one of those foods that, like, when it's good, it's really good, but when it's bad, it's really bad. It's like haggis, right? Not quite as bad as haggis, but really good haggis is really good, but really bad haggis is really bad. Ireland, yeah, Ireland is essentially like because you have to remember that a good portion of the American South was made up of like Irish and Scottish folk. That's where the American Southern accent comes from. The C word hot drink is what I have observed breaks the portals. But wait. What? What happened? I still need to need to get to a Waffle House. I've never been. Always wanted, just never felt drunk enough to be accepted. Yeah, I mean, Waffle House is like IHOP or Denny's. Like, you don't go to an IHOP or a Denny's. You end up there, right? It's not somewhere you go intentionally. You just end up there. Oh yes. Oh, pemmican, yes. Pemmican is interesting. I'm not a fan, but it is interesting. Since I'm home, I have an announcement. I completed my level 1 technician training on Friday. Hell yes! And started my level 2 training yesterday. Congratulations, Tyson. Raise a glass to Tyson, my friends. Accomplishments are to be lauded. Cheers, brother. That was the last of my H2O for tonight. Right. Yes. Understandable. You don't need to be drunk to go to Waffle House, but it helps. Just sit back and enjoy the show. And if you go after midnight, it helps to know how to fight. Yes. Yeah, and you should wear a helmet because things are constantly falling through the roof. Whispers. All right, let's finish up the story, friends. We've only got a few pages left. Arutha and his companions waited as the lift rose, then halted at the floor of the Protector's Council room. It had been late morning, almost noon, before the call to Guy's council had arrived. They walked a short way down the hall, then stopped. The guard who had come for them waited while they stared out the window in wonder of the vista below. Armengar spread out beyond the moat, about the citadel, and across the open market, to a huge city wall, but beyond the wall, they could see a vast plain stretching northeast into the distant mist. On either side of the city, mountains rose high into the heavens. From the west, white billowing clouds blew through a deep blue sky as amber highlighted green grasses stretched away to limit to the limit of their view. It was an incredible view. Jimmy glanced over and saw a strange expression on Locklear's face. What? I was just thinking about all that land, he said, pointing out towards the plain. What about it? You could grow a lot on such land. Martin let his gaze wander to the horizon. Enough wheat to feed the entire Western realm, he commented. Jimmy said, You, a farmer? Locklear grinned. What do you think a baron does in a small place like Land's End? Mostly he settles squabbles between farmers and sets fair taxes on crops. You have to know about such things. The guard said, Come, the protector awaits. As Arutha and his companions entered, Guy looked up. With him was Amos, Dwayne, Armand de Sivney, and a woman. Arutha looked at his brother and saw that Martin had halted in his tracks. The Duke of Crydee was staring at the woman in unabashed appreciation. Arutha touched Martin's arm, and he moved to follow his brother. Arutha glanced at the woman again and could appreciate his brother's distraction. At first blush, she seemed a plain-looking woman, but as soon as she moved, her bearing added another dimension to her appearance. She was striking. She wore leather armor, brown tunic, and trousers, like most of the others in the city, but the bulky covering couldn't disguise the fact that she was trimly built, and her carriage was erect and even regal. Her hair was deep brown, with a startling streak of grey at the left temple, and was tied back with a rolled green scarf, and her eyes were blue. And from the red, dim state of those eyes, it was clear that she had been crying. Also, I just want to point out that this is probably the most respectful and diplomatic way that I have ever seen a woman's figure described in a book. But the bulky covering couldn't disguise the fact that she was trimly built, and her carriage was erect, even regal. That is pure poetry. Poetry. Guy indicated that Arutha and his companions should sit. Arutha introduced everyone, and Guy in turn said, "You know, Amos and Armand, and this is Brianna," he indicated the woman, "one of my commanders." Arutha nodded, but saw the woman had recovered from whatever had caused her to cry, and was returning Martin's look. Quickly, with economy, Arutha told Guy his story, starting with the return from the long trip with Liam to the east, and then of the first attack by the Nighthawks, through the revelations at the Abbey at South, and the quest for Silverthorn, to the false death of the Prince of Crondor. He ended by saying, "To end it, we've come to kill my mandamus." At that, Guy shook his head in disbelief. "Cousin, it's a bold plan, but..." He turned to Armand. "How many infiltrators have we tried to get into his camp?" "6? 7? said Brianna. "But they weren't kingdom men, were they?" answered Jimmy, taking out an Ebon hawk on a chain. "And they didn't carry that hawk talisman, did they?" Guy looked at Jimmy in near exasperation. "Amon, the former Baron of Lindenholt opened a drawer in a cabinet and took out a pouch. He untied the pouch and poured half a dozen of the talismans on the table. We've tried it, Squire, and yes, some of them were kingdom men. For there are always a few among those saved by the Armangarians when they raid the brothers' slave coffles. No, there's something missing. They know who the true brigands are and who the spies are." Arutha said, "Magic, most likely." Guy said, As a problem we've faced before. We number no spellcasters, whether magician or priest, in the city. It seems constant warfare, with everyone expected to fight, does not permit the sort of placidity such a study requires, or it kills off all the teachers. But whatever the reason, on those few occasions when Myrmandamus or his snake has taken a hand, we've paid a dear price." He added thoughtfully, "Though, for some reason, he seems reluctant to use his powers against us. Thank the gods." Tyson, you said, "Evidently bad enough. You have to ask yourself, how are they protecting themselves from how wild it can get at a Waffle House? Or are they that bad at cooking?" Waffle House is sort of like the unofficial fight club of America. "Arthur, my friend, hello! Good to see you. Welcome in. It's been quite a while. I hope you and the family and the bakery are doing well." Yeah, Waffle House is yeah, it's like UFC, but with no rules. More brutal. Family is great, bakery is the same, and I'm writing a book. Congratulations! I'm glad to hear it. Progress is always spectacular, my friend, and I'm glad you dropped in tonight. It's good to see you. The fact that FEMA uses Waffle House Index to determine how bad an area is crazy to me. Digger, hello! I am quite well. We had a little bit of a tumultuous week last week, but in the all in all, we're quite well. It's good to see you. I hope Dimples is doing all right. Give her love from us. Guy sat back. You and I share an interest, cousin. To give you some sense of it, let me tell you about this place. You know that the ancestor of the Armangarians came over the mountains when the kingdom annexed Yabon. They discovered the rich land but one already inhabited, and those who were here tended to look upon the incursion of the Armangarians with disfavour. Brianna, who built this city? The woman spoke, her voice a soft contralto.
The legend of the gods is that the legend is that the gods ordered the race of giants to build this city, then left it abandoned. We took it as we found it.
No one knows who lived here, said Guy. There is another city, far to the north, Sarsagoth. It is a city twin to this one, and Myrmandamus's capital. Arutha said. So if we seek him out, that is where we'll find him.
Seek him out, and he'll see all his old sparks,
snorted Amos. Guy indicated agreement. We have other needs, Aruha. Last year he marshalled an army in excess of 20,000. As much might as the armies of the East at full muster during peace times. We braced ourselves for a full-scale onslaught, but nothing materialized. Now I expect your friend here, he pointed to Baru. Killer of Myrmandamus's favourite general might have aborted the campaign, but this year he's back, and he's even stronger. We estimate he may have more than 25,000 goblins and dark brothers under his banner, and more arriving every day. I expect upwards of 30,000 when he marches. Arutha looked at Guy. Why hasn't he marched yet? Guy spread his hands, inviting comment from anyone. He's waiting for your death, remember? Interrupted Jimmy. It's a religious thing. Arutha answered. He has word by now. That's what he told that renegade Morgan Crow. Guy's one good eye narrowed. What's this? Arutha told of the renegade at the end, on the road to Tirsorg, and of the plan to hire Sergeson's engineers. That's what he was waiting for, said Guy, slapping the table. He has his magic, but for some reason won't use it against us. Without Sergeson's engineers, he can't bring down our walls. When Arutha looked uncertain of Guy's meaning, Guy said, if he could bring down Amangar's walls, he wouldn't be trying to hire Sergeson. No one knows who built those walls, Arutha. But whoever it was had some skills beyond any other I've knowledge of. I've seen fortification of all manner, but none like Armangar. Sergeson's engineers might not be able to breach the walls, but the only ones I know would have a chance to do it. So is Sergeson not coming? So is Sergeson not coming, you're in a good position to defend. Yes, but there are other matters coming to bear as well, said Guy as he stood. We've more to discuss and can continue later. I have a meeting with City Council now. For the present, you're free to come and go within Armangar at will. He took Arutha aside and said, I need to speak with you in private, tonight, after the evening meal. The meeting broke up with Brianna, Armand, and Guy leaving. Twain and Amos lingered behind. Amos approached Arutha and Martin, while the Duke watched the woman leave. "Who is she, Amos?" said Martin.
"One of the city's better commanders, man. Gwyneth's daughter."
"Now I understand why she looked at grief," said the Duke.
"She's just learned of her mother's death this morning."
Amos pointed towards the city.
"Her patrol was west, along the lines of the Stidlings and Crowes. She just returned hours ago."
Martin's expression was quizzical.
The farm communities are steading, and the cattle and sheep herder communities are crows. So, no, she's dealing with Gwyneth's loss. It's Gar who has me worried. Oh, there's supposed to be Amos, never mind. Arutha soothed. He hides his grief well. Arutha felt conflicting emotions. The dislike for Bastira he had learned from his father's knee fought his sympathy for the man's grief. He had almost lost Anita, and he could feel that terror and pain echoing as he considered Guy's lot. Yet Guy had ordered Anita's father imprisoned, which had killed him, and Guy was a traitor. Arutha pushed aside those feelings, for they troubled him. He walked with Amos and Martin, while Martin continued asking questions about Brianna. And so ends chapter 9 of A Darkness at Sethanon. A little bit longer than I would have liked, but we are now at the end, and we'll do a couple of songs, and I will send you all off out into the world, my friends. Orc Stream Hub World, hello, welcome in if you're still with us. Frost, good night, my friend, rest well, and may you rise tomorrow ready to face the day. I wish you well, and I wish you sweet dreams, my friend. All right. So let's see. We're going to do the mermaid song first. I'm glad, Esther. I'm glad you're enjoying. All right, and then we were going to do Danny Boy. We're going to do the short version of Danny Boy. And we're going to do Star of the County Down, I believe, was the other request. And then My Mother Told Me by Bear. Thank you for the bits, my friend. Tip to the tavern keeper, always appreciated. What did you get? What did you get? Did it pop? Let me see. Got yourself some Snowfall Nog there. Nope, that's Dragon's Mead. The lady has it mislabeled. Any which way, you got yourself some Dragon's Mead. I'm still surprised myself. 2 books in 12 months written. It's amazing what you can do if you put your mind to it. And then we will do My Mother Told Me. All right, so we'll do Mermaid Song first, and then we'll do My Mother Told Me, and then we will do Start of the County Down, and then we'll finish off with Danny Boy. When I was a lad in a fishing town, me old man said to me, "You can spend your life, your jolly life, just a sailing on the sea. You can search the world for pretty girls till your eyes are weak and dim, but don't go searching for a mermaid, son, if you don't know how to swim. 'Cause her hair was green as seaweed, her skin was blue and pale, her face it was a work of art. I loved that girl with all me heart.
but I only liked the upper part. I did not like the tail. I signed on to a sailing ship my very first day at sea. I seen a mermaid in the waves a reaching out to me. Come live with me in the sea, she said, down on the ocean floor, and I'll show you a million wondrous things you've never seen before. So over I jumped and she pulled me down to her seaweed bed. On a pillow made of tortoise shell she placed beneath my head. She fed me shrimp and caviar upon a silver dish. From her head to her waist she was just my taste, but the rest of her was a fish. 'Cause her hair was green as seaweed, her skin was blue and pale. Her face, it was a work of art. I loved that girl with all my heart, but I only liked the upper part. I did not like the tail. But then one day she swam away, so I sang to the clams and the whales. Oh, how I miss her seaweed hair and the silver shine of her scales. But then her sister, she swam by, and she set my heart a-whirl. 'Cause her upper part was an ugly fish, but the bottom part was a curl. Yes, her hair was green as seaweed, her skin was blue and pale. Her legs, they are a work of art. I love that girl with all my heart. But I don't give a damn about the upper part, because that's how I get my tail. Thank you for the song, my friends. Always a fun one. And again, Bear, thank you for the tips, brother. Appreciate you for that. Tips of the Tavern Keeper, always appreciated, my friend. Finally managed to fall asleep after being up all night, walking LC. Stayed awake until 4:30 a.m. That's rough. You gotta make sure you're getting sleep. Esther, you gotta make sure you're getting sleep. Oh, I'm all out of water. Alright. Next, My Mother Told Me. For those of you who don't know My Mother Told Me, it is a very popular song that is an interpretation of an old saying from I think my brain's not working. The Havamal. Of course, Esther, always a pleasure. Always a pleasure. My mother told me someday I would buy galleys with good oars, sails to distant shores. My mother told me someday I will buy galleys with good oars, sails to distant shores. Stand up high in the prow, noble bark I steer, steady course to the haven, hew many foemen, hew many foemen. My mother told me someday I would buy galleys with good oars, sail to distant shores. Stand up high in the prow, noble bark I steer, steady course to the haven, hew many foemen, hew many foemen. Thank you for the song, my friends. Always lovely. Cheers, Rob. I'm glad you enjoyed. Matthew woke up to use the restroom, heard you singing, said, "Oh, that reminds me, tell him the..." Is he gonna... Good. I'm glad to hear it. I'm glad to hear it. Now tell him to get his butt back to bed. Okay, now, Counting Down, the sound of Counting Down is a very fast song. So it's going to take... I'm glad you enjoyed, Esther. I don't know if I can get the tune of this one perfectly because it's a little bit faster, but we'll see what we can do. Near Bumbridge Town in the County Down, one evening last July, Down a bothering green came a sweet Colleen, and she smiled as she passed me by. She looked so neat from her two bare feet to the sheen of her nut brown hair. Such a coaxing elf to shake me shelf, to be sure I was standing there. From Bantry Bay to Derry Quay, from Galway to Dublin town, no maid I've seen like the fair Colleen that I've met in the county down. As onward sped she took my head, and gazed a feeling queer. And I said, says I, to a passer-by, who's the maid with the nut brown hair? She smiled at me, and with pride he says she's a gem of old Ireland's crown. Young Rosie McCann from the banks of the Bann and the star of the county down. From Bantry Bay down to Derry Quay, from Galway to Dublin town, no maid I've seen like the fair Colleen that I met in the county down. She'd a soft brown eye and a look so sly and a smile like a rose in June. And you held each note from her auburn throat as she lilted lamenting tunes. At the pattern dance you'd be in a trance as she skipped through the jig or a reel. When her eyes she'd roll and she'd lift your soul and her heart she would likely steal. I've not sung this song in forever, so it's terrible. I apologise, I'm butchering it. From Bantry Bay down to Derry Quay, from Galway to Dublin town, no maid I've seen like the fair Colleen that I met in the county down. At the harvest fair she'll surely be there, and I'll dress in my Sunday clothes, with my hat cocked right and my shoes shine bright, for a smile from the nut brown rose. No horse I'll yoke or pipe I'll smoke, to the rust of my plough turns brown, and a smiling bride of my own fireside sits the star of the county down. From Bantry Bay to Derry Quay, from Galway to Dublin town, no maid I've seen like the fair Colleen that I met in the county down. She'd a soft brown eye, and a look so sly, and a smile and a rose in June. And you held each note from her auburn throat as she lilted lamenting tunes. At the pattern dance you'd be in a trance as she skipped through a jig or a reel. And her eyes she'd roll and she'd lift her soul, and your heart she would likely steal. From Bantry Bay down to Derry Quay, from Galway to Dublin town, no maid I've seen like the fair Colleen that I met in the county down. Near Brumbridge town in the county down, one evening last July, down the bothering green came a sweet Colleen, and she smiled as she passed me by. She looked so neat from her two bare feet to the sheen of her nut brown hair. Such a coaxing elf I had to shake myself, to be sure I was standing there. From Bantry Bay to Derry Quay, from Galway to Dublin town, no maid I've seen like the fair Colleen that I've met in the county down. Oh, well, I think we'll end it there. I can't properly express how much I've missed my tavern and my tavern family. I have too, Bear. Honest to God, missed being in here with you all. I am. I need to practice it more because I butchered the hell out of it, to be perfectly honest. But I'll practice it more. I really like the High Kings version of this and the Young Dubs version of this. So I'll practice it a bit more. Alright, last but certainly not least, we have Danny Boy. It's rare to see Castle awkward. I do my absolute best to be my absolute best. And I gave it a go. Normally, when it's a song I haven't done in a while, I'll make you guys wait. I'm thinking that from now on, if you guys request a song, and it's one I know but I haven't done in a while, or that I'm not sure if I'm good at, I'll just give it a fly, and we'll see where it goes. It's more fun if we all just play together, right? All right. Ashley, I appreciate you holding up the fort, love. Thank you kindly. Slaughtered it, butchered it, sent it home to meet its mummy. Oh, Danny boy, the pipes are calling. From glen to glen and down the mountainside, the summer's gone, and all the flowers are dying. 'Tis you, must go, and I must bide. But come ye back when summer's in the meadow, or when the valleys hushed and white with snow, and I'll be here in sunshine or in shadow. Oh, Danny boy, I love you so. But when you come, and all the flowers are dying, if I am dead, as dead I well may be, I pray you'll find the place where I am lying, and kneel and say an Ave there for me. And I will hear, though soft you tread above me, and oh, my grave will warmer, sweeter be, for you will come and tell me that you love me, and I will sleep in peace until you come to me. I will sleep in peace until you come to me. I mean, I'm just taking the piss. I figure we're good enough mates, but yeah. when I butcher something, I fully expect you to take the piss out of me. That is what it is. Olga, I'm glad that you're still with us. I'm glad that you're enjoying. And again, please make sure you rest properly. Let yourself heal up, all right? All right, my friends. Thank you all for such a wonderful evening. We ended almost exactly on time tonight. Can you believe that? We're only like 15 minutes past. Well, no, we're 20 minutes past. Never mind. We're 20 minutes past. Man, my voice is worn out. I need to get some more water. Alright, friends, for those of you who are new, we will be back on Thursday. Hopefully on time. Hopefully we won't have any more technical difficulties. We should be back on time. And for those of you who are over on Twitch, we'll be raiding out to share the love. And for everyone else, this is where we must part for the evening. Molly, I didn't know you were in. I'm sure you were looking, and that's just fine, but I'm glad to see you. I hope you have a good night. Ashley, good night. Esther, Matty, Teresa, Olga, Bethany, Bear, Tyson, guten Nacht, mein Freunden. Haben Sie einen wunderbaren Nacht. Digger, have a good night. Rest well, God bless. Rich, Danny Boy for me always goes with the 60s rock song. I don't know that, well, maybe I have. It doesn't pop into my head immediately, but yeah. My friends, I appreciate all of you. It's been a wonderful night. I'll see you back on Thursday. Barring any issues, Gunnar, always a pleasure. Arthur, if you're still in, it was wonderful to see you, brother. Gunnar, I hope you're doing well, mate, and I want you all to know that I appreciate you all being patient as we've had these technical difficulties getting the portals opened, and that the lady and I have much love for the lot of you. No, you're awesome, Digger, but thank you for the tip, brother. I appreciate you. All right, my friends, this is where we part. Sláinte! And I will see you all again soon. And until the next time that the doors open into the tavern, I will bid you all stay bloodthirsty. And we will see you next time. Good night.
Oh my god. Diabetes EQ over the do that. It's just like one thing after another going wrong, and I just want to be able to stream, but oh my goodness. Oh, hi Raiders. Hello. Nothing to see here. Hi everyone.